Our boy wakes up in some bizarre purple void, completely lost and questioning his reality. In his hands, a so-called sacred stone is glowing with a sinister energy he has never seen before. Black feathers start drifting down from nowhere, really selling the whole "this is a dream, right?" vibe. His eyes are now glowing the exact same freaky purple as the stone, which is never a good sign. Then a woman with massive black wings descends from above, looking very much like a final boss. And his only response is a blank, confused stare, his brain clearly having left the building. Suddenly, we are in a history lesson about two powers ruling another realm. First up, the demons. Opposing them were the divine spirits, a whole squad of angelic beings looking prim and proper. These two factions were locked in a massive, world-shattering war that raged on for ages. In the end, the demons won by literally eating the angels, so much for divine intervention. After their victory, the demons got bored and opened a portal to Earth about a decade ago. Humanity was predictably completely powerless and got absolutely wrecked by the invading demon army. But just when all hope seemed lost, something else started emerging from the gates. This last of the divine spirits appeared, offering humanity the will to fight back. They started handing out their power in the form of shiny crystals to worthy humans. This created a new generation of warriors, chosen to fight alongside the remaining spirits. These superpowered people became known as hunters, the world's last line of defense, which brings us to the present day in a forest just outside of Tokyo. A team of hunters stands before a swirling purple gate, ready for another day at the office. Meet Hino, Kamiya, and Mito, who are treating this E-rank dungeon with all the seriousness of a coffee run. And of course, someone's gotta carry all the supplies. Our boy here is apparently the designated pack mule for the team. Meet Makoto Asuka, an F-rank hunter who is totally fine with being the glorified intern. His teammates tell him to just carry the bags and let the adults handle the fighting, which is an insult Makoto has apparently gotten very used to hearing. See, for chosen hunters, a sacred stone appears in their hand, the source of all their power. After that, they form a pact with a divine spirit to unlock their true potential, which takes us back 2 years ago when a pillar of light descended from the sky, and a much younger Makoto awakens his power, thinking his life is about to change. He clutches the stone, vowing to prevent the tragedy that took his family from ever happening again, absolutely determined that this newfound power will make him strong enough to protect everyone. Turns out his parents were killed by demons during a gate break years earlier, so for him this stone was not just power, it was his only ray of hope. This kid immediately started training like his life depended on it because it did. He's grinding out thousands of sword swings, pushing himself to the absolute limit, managing 1,000 reps in under an hour, which is some serious dedication. With no time to rest, his next goal is a casual 20-kilometer run. But some other trainees nearby seem to recognize him, and not in a good way. They start whispering behind his back, calling him a fake hunter, real encouraging stuff, because for 2 years the divine spirits just ghosted him, leaving him with a useless rock. He remembers getting absolutely decked while trying to prove himself, realizing it is impossible. This other trainees just mock him, with the leader complaining about having to babysit a loser. Despite being beaten up, Makoto insists he can fight, that he has been training for this. But they just shut him down, saying all his effort is worthless without a divine spirit. They tell him to stop pretending to be a hunter because he is just dragging down their reputation. Leaving Makoto completely broken in a back alley, his one glimmer of hope totally extinguished. For 2 long years he's been asking himself why he is the only one who has been left behind. Watching everyone else move forward, he officially became a total outcast. Which brings us back to the present, where a fiery bull demon crashes the party. Hino immediately summons his low-rank fire spirit Flam to handle the threat, while Mito and her water spirit casually snipe another monster out of the air, and Kamiya finishes off a goblin with his lightning spirit, looking way too pleased with himself. This team celebrates their easy victory, patting themselves on the back for being so strong, but as Hino glances over at Makoto, a new monster sneaks up right behind him. He screams a warning as the creature lunges for our completely oblivious pack mule. Makoto just barely manages to block the surprise attack, getting thrown off balance. But he grits his teeth, declaring he is a hunter and he is going to take this thing down. He gets into a fighting stance, ready to face the little bat demon head-on, only for Hino to reveal his true colors with a nasty smirk, saying Makoto will never get a pact. And in that moment of betrayal, Makoto realizes this was a setup, a fitting end for the fake hunter. Trapped behind the gate, Makoto desperately pounds on the stone door to be let out, and he is absolutely kicking himself for letting his guard down and not seeing this coming. With no time for regrets, he parries a vicious strike from the bat demon, only for the monster to catch his blade with its bare hand, looking totally unimpressed. Turns out, without a divine spirit's power, his sword is just a glorified butter knife. This demon easily dodges his next move, leaving Makoto completely outmatched and cornered. But suddenly, a blast of fire incinerates the monster from off-screen, and Hino strolls in with the team, asking if he is okay with a perfectly straight face. Our boy, bless his trusting heart, actually thanks the guy who just tried to get him killed. Brushing past him, Hino completely ignores the apology he absolutely does not deserve. He then pats Makoto on the shoulder, giving him a backhanded compliment about his footwork, leaving Makoto justifiably confused by this switch from murder plot to friendly advice. He earnestly explains that he has been training non-stop, just waiting for a pact to form. Hino offers some empty encouragement, hoping he gets a pact someday. Yeah, right. and Makoto actually buys it, appreciating the comfort from his would-be murderer. As the team moves on, Hino glances back with a look that is anything but friendly, because that friendly facade drops instantly, revealing a nasty smirk as his teammates snicker. They finally reach the dungeon's deepest area, standing before the massive boss room doors. Turning to Makoto, Hino starts up a little story time, which is never a good sign. He starts explaining that demons have different types and characteristics, some with unique routines. Makoto, bless his heart, asks if they are meant to exploit these routines to win, and Hino gives a simple exactly, just not in the way our boy is hoping for. This moment his team is clear, the massive stone door slams shut, trapping Makoto inside. And he immediately realizes he let his guard down, totally falling for their trap. Through a crack in the door, he sees Hino's eye, cold and completely remorseless. Then a terrifying rumble shakes the entire chamber, forcing him to turn around, because the C-rank dungeon boss, Behemoth, has just woken up and it does not look happy. Makoto is frozen in sheer terror, the monster's shadow completely swallowing him up. And with a deafening roar, the beast lunges forward to crush him in a single blow. Outside, his teammates are just chilling, casually declaring that he is dead for sure. This force of the attack sends Makoto flying into a deep chasm within the boss room, leaving him battered and winded as the monster glares down at him from above. But he realizes the demon has not fully awakened yet, giving him a tiny window to escape. So he spots a small opening in the cave wall, his only potential path to survival. With no time to waste, he makes a desperate sprint for the exit, which only seems to piss the behemoth off even more as it lets out a furious roar. Makoto pushes himself to run faster than he ever has in his life, but the monster slams its fist down, causing a rock slide that completely blocks his escape route. He looks back in absolute horror, his one chance of getting out of here alive now gone. And the behemoth stands between him and the exit, ready to finish the job. Trapped with the behemoth, Makoto desperately insists there has to be some way out of this. This monster's attack closes in and our boy can only stare in absolute disbelief, as his life flashes before his eyes, remembering his promise to his parents not to die so uselessly. Fueled by sheer rage, he swears he is not going down in a place like this, no way in hell. And in a flash of purple light, the sacred stone in his hand completely shatters. A torrent of dark energy erupts from the broken crystal, swirling all around him, which forms into strange, feather-like shards, leaving him totally baffled by the sudden power-up. This new power blasts outwards, forming a shield that actually stops the behemoth's attack cold, and suddenly he is in some bizarre purple void, completely lost and questioning his reality. In his hands, the so-called sacred stone is glowing with a sinister energy he has never seen before. Black feathers start drifting down from nowhere, really selling the whole "this is a dream" right vibe. His eyes are now glowing the exact same freaky purple as the stone, which is never a good sign. Then a woman with massive black wings descends from above, looking very much like a final boss. And his only response is a blank, confused stare, his brain clearly having left the building. She reaches out her hand, addressing him simply as human, which is a bit impersonal for a rescue. With glowing golden eyes, she offers him the one thing he has always wanted, a pact. A tiny, spiky black orb appears, looking like the world's most emo gacha pull, and her massive wings spread as she repeats the offer, clearly not a fan of waiting around. Makoto's brain is still buffering as she tells him to hurry up with his decision. Because this little pocket dimension they are in is apparently on a very tight schedule, this winged woman gets straight to the point, asking if he is going to form the pact, and her golden eyes narrow as she presses him for an answer, clearly not a fan of indecision. It finally dawns on Makoto that this is his divine spirit, making the choice a total no-brainer. He reaches out, not just accepting the pact but asking her to fight alongside him. And the moment their hands touch, the pact is sealed, the gem on his hand glowing intensely. With a simple okay, his new goth angel partner declares the pact officially complete. Dark, swirling energy immediately begins to flow from her and into Makoto's body, as the shattered stone reforms on his hand, now a permanent fixture crackling with dark power. Floating in the void, Makoto can finally feel it, the raw power he has been dreaming of for years. Snapped back to reality, he is now standing before the behemoth, ready for round 2. Gripping his sword, Makoto gets into a fighting stance, looking like a completely different person. But the behemoth is not just gonna wait around, charging straight at him with full force. Even with his power-up, he can feel the insane pressure from the monster's attack. This behemoth roars, its eyes glowing with rage, clearly not happy about the interruption. But this time, Makoto stands his ground, declaring he is no longer the same weakling. This beast's fist slams down, but Makoto has already vanished, dodging the attack with ease, and he is already halfway across the room, shocked by his own incredible speed. Our boy is in total disbelief. All he did was lightly kick the ground to move that fast. With a new sense of purpose, he tightens his grip on the hilt of his sword. And with a grin that screams payback time, he declares that now it is his turn to attack. With his eyes glowing purple, Makoto finally understands what he has been missing, remembering that to fight demons you need the power of a divine spirit. But he is screaming at his new partner that he has no idea what her ability even is. Planting his feet, he prepares to test out whatever this new power might be, desperately asking his spirit what the hell her power is while running for his life. Suddenly, a voice pops into his head, leaving him completely stunned mid-sprint. A tiny chibi version of his spirit casually mentions she forgot to tell him whoops. She then has the audacity to blame him for not asking because customer service is clearly not her strong suit. There is no time to argue as the behemoth's claws come crashing down from above. But he zips out of the way just in time, the attack smashing into empty rock. Landing safely, he stares back at the monster, finally getting a moment to breathe. And he asks if that shadow shield from before was her doing. This voice confirms it as dark energy begins to swirl around his hand. His spirit explains that with her, his ability is something special, revealing its name is Rebellion Shadow, which sounds appropriately edgy. She tells him it is the power to manipulate shadows and he just needs to focus to use it. Taking her advice, Makoto narrows his eyes, concentrating for the first time, and he closes them trying to feel out this new dark energy. Reaching out, he clenches his fist, grabbing hold of the swirling shadows, which immediately solidify into a badass glowing purple sword ready for action. His spirit explains the new power is Shadow Weapon. Basically, he can make swords out of darkness. And a confident smirk spreads across his face, a total 180 from the terrified kid moments ago. Gripping his new shadow blade, Makoto declares this is more than enough to win. As he stands before the behemoth, finally feeling like he has a fighting chance, our boy even starts trash-talking the monster, promising there will not be any openings this time. But the behemoth is not a fan of smack talk, immediately swinging to shut him up. Its attack just smashes into the ground because Makoto is already long gone, effortlessly sidestepping the blow with a speed that is still totally new to him. In a flash, he zips past the monster and cleanly severs its entire arm, which crashes to the ground, leaving the behemoth stunned and bleeding out. Makoto lands perfectly, his new shadow weapon not even slightly damaged from the strike, while the wounded beast glares at him with pure unadulterated rage. He is not letting up, powering up another attack and yelling that he is coming for it, leaping through the air to bring his sword down for what looks like the finishing blow. But the behemoth throws up its other arm, bracing for the devastating impact, and his blade is stopped cold, the monster having perfectly timed its defense. Makoto's eyes widen in shock, realizing the beast has already figured out his attack range, so the behemoth immediately counters with a vicious swipe of its own, its claws scraping the stone right where our boy's head used to be. He is forced to backflip away, creating some much-needed distance to rethink his strategy. With his new shadow powers, Makoto realizes he can just make a bigger, better sword, and he immediately puts it to use, launching himself for a massive overhead swing, which slices clean through the behemoth from head to toe like a hot knife through butter. This monster can only let out a final scream as its body is literally split in half, crashing to the ground in a spectacularly messy finish to this boss fight. Makoto lands without a scratch, smugly confirming his shadows can shapeshift into whatever he wants. Just as the behemoth's corpse begins to glow, starting its post-boss fight disappearing act, erupting in a pillar of light that signals the dungeon is officially cleared. He looks up, finally able to breathe, the immediate threat now totally gone, which is when his brain decides to play a highlight reel of everyone who ever called him useless. All those voices mocking him for being a fake hunter who'd never get a spirit. But clenching his fist, he knows none of that struggle was pointless after all, because he has been waiting, sharpening his fangs for this exact kind of payback, screaming that this is the moment he has been fighting for his entire life. We get a glorious flashback to the behemoth's face, realizing it is about to be deleted, followed by the absolutely brutal money shot of the beast being cleaved in two. Its head dissolves into pure shadow, leaving nothing behind but dust and bad memories, and the dark energy flows back into Makoto as he kneels, the adrenaline finally fading, leaving him alone in the quiet boss room as the last of his power dissipates. Then his spirit partner appears, casually judging his performance with a simple no problem, peak emotional support. Makoto gives his new partner a genuine thank you, just incredibly happy to be alive. But she immediately shuts that down, pointing out she only lent the power, he did the work, which does not matter to our boy, who is just grateful she formed a pact with him at all. His earnest gratitude is met with a death glare because apparently she hates compliments, but he is too busy geeking out over his new shadow powers to even notice, asking if she is some kind of high-ranking divine spirit to be this strong. Her response is a blunt no, clarifying that she is not a divine spirit whatsoever, before casually dropping the bombshell that she is, in fact, a demon. Makoto's brain completely short-circuits, his entire worldview crumbling in a single moment. As a quick history lesson reminds us, demons are the sworn enemies of humanity and spirits, and the whole hunter system was created specifically to fight them by partnering with said spirits. So yeah, he is having a hard time processing that he just made a deal with the enemy, while his new demon partner looks super uncomfortable with the label, which is an interesting reaction. Trying to move past the whole pact with a demon thing, Makoto asks for the fine print, and just as they are about to leave, they hear voices from the dungeon entrance. Oh look, it is the trash party that left him for dead, assuming he is Monster Chow by now. Makoto's face twists with pure rage when he sees the traitors who abandoned him, and they are absolutely stunned he is still alive, demanding to know where the boss went. Then the red-haired guy spots the demon and realizes the impossible. Makoto actually formed a pact, leaving the three stooges panicking, now facing a powered-up and very angry survivor. This traitors immediately realize if Makoto reports them, their adventuring days are over. So their genius solution is to silence him for good, because that always works out. Makoto just glares, completely unsurprised they'd resort to murder to cover their tracks. But before the revenge beatdown, our boy has a very important question: what is her name? She is totally thrown for a loop, clearly not expecting introductions in the middle of a standoff. After a moment, she finally introduces herself as Renoa, looking almost hesitant about it. And with her name now known, Makoto calls on her, asking to borrow her power once more. Renoa's eyes widen, seemingly surprised by his immediate resolve to jump right into a fight. This traitor's charge forward, still convinced he is a worthless scrub even with a pact. And hilariously, the red-haired guy's own spirit is freaking out, but he just calls it a coward. This blonde guy's spirit calls its master an idiot, pointing out the insane aura coming off Renoa. His party members are also starting to panic, realizing Renoa's power is on a whole different level. This little fire spirit confirms it. They have no clue who she is, but she is terrifying. But it makes a pretty solid guess that she has the strength of a top-class divine spirit. This traitors completely lose it, refusing to believe a failure could land a top-class partner. And even Makoto is hearing this for the first time, totally stunned by the top-class label. A handy infographic explains the spirit hierarchy, with top-class sitting at the very pinnacle. And just to be clear, that is the absolute strongest category of spirit in existence. So Makoto turns to Renoa, once again asking what her whole deal actually is. But Renoa just points at the enemy, saying there is absolutely no time for a backstory dump. This red-haired traitor throws a tantrum, stomping his foot and refusing to be intimidated. And he rants that Makoto is still a weakling who only managed to beat the boss. But his party members are smart enough to realize a top-class spirit changes everything. Their leader just calls them cowards, his ego clearly writing checks his body cannot cash, charging forward with a flaming fist to show Makoto the power of a real hunter. And Makoto just watches him come, looking completely and utterly unimpressed. This punch connects, but our boy stops it cold with one hand, not even flinching. Which leaves the traitor screaming in disbelief that his attack was just stuffed. He unleashes a flurry of blows, all of which Makoto dodges like he is taking a stroll. So the guy powers up his special move, a concentrated blast called Flame Spirit's Breath, which Makoto casually slices in half with a tiny flick of purple energy from his finger. This traitor is just stunned silent, his ultimate attack swatted away like a gnat. And Makoto twists the knife, asking if he is even trying a truly savage burn. This guy's face contorts with pure unadulterated rage at the humiliation, screaming that Makoto is just a weakling who got lucky with a powerful spirit. Our boy just smirks, repeating the word lucky as if it is the funniest joke he has ever heard, pointing out that he formed his pact instantly, much faster than this clown ever did. As his shadow sword materializes, he says it is because he never gave up. Declaring that what he gained was not luck, it was the reward for his struggle. All the traitor can do is curse his name, completely and utterly broken. This red-haired traitor screams about his secret technique, erupting in a massive fireball, then barks at his terrified teammates to join the fight or they are all dead. So his party members reluctantly power up, knowing they are completely outmatched, while their leader condenses all his power into a single, concentrated orb of flame. Laughing like a maniac that trash will always be trash, a classic villain monologue, but Makoto just stands there, completely unmoved as their combined attacks dissipate around him, leaving all three of them frozen in disbelief, their jaws practically on the floor. And our boy casually explains he cut through everything, adding the boss was way faster, ouch. With a single step forward, he signals that playtime is officially over. As Renoa's terrifying eyes loom in the background while he asks if the traitor is ready, this look on this guy's face says he is absolutely, 100% not ready. But he tries to hype himself up, clenching a flaming fist and telling Makoto not to mess with him, lunging forward in a rage while screaming that Makoto is just a pathetic wannabe, only for Makoto to effortlessly block the flaming punch with his shadow sword. This traitor is stopped dead in his tracks, stunned that his attack was completely neutralized. And utterly broken, he can only ask what the hell Makoto has become. Dark energy gathers in Makoto's hand as he prepares to answer that question physically, his fist clenching, crackling with pure concentrated shadow power, before he drives that fist straight into the traitor's gut with brutal efficiency, sending the guy flying, spitting blood as he is knocked out cold in a single blow. Makoto's eyes glow as he reclaims his identity. He is a hunter, and this is his proof. His single punch sends the traitor flying, leaving his two lackeys screaming in absolute terror. Their leader is just a heap on the floor, completely knocked out after that brutal reality check. Standing over the body, Makoto coldly tells them to take their friend and get lost, adding a very simple, very clear threat: do not say a word about this to anyone. Which has the remaining two traitors scrambling to pick up their unconscious baggage, and they drag their buddy out of the dungeon, completing their high-speed tactical retreat. After they are gone, the Pact crystal on his hand glows, a quiet reminder of his new power, and Renoa appears, noting he showed mercy by not just killing the guy on the spot. Our boy just turns and thanks her for fighting by his side, all smiles and gratitude, which actually earns him a small, genuine smile back from Renoa for the first time ever. With the trash finally taken out, Makoto remembers they were in the middle of a conversation, asking her to please continue her story about being a demon instead of a spirit. Renoa clenches her fist, clearly hesitant to talk about what is obviously a painful past, but she takes a deep breath, preparing to drop a massive lore bomb on him, revealing that she was once a divine spirit belonging to the angel race. but due to some mysterious event, she fell from grace and became a demon. Makoto's brain short-circuits yet again since angels are a top-tier race among spirits. So Renoa, sensing his shock, offers to terminate their pact right here and now, telling him not to hesitate if he wants to cut ties with a monster like her. Renoa insists that being a demon is just her reality now, trying to own the label. But Makoto is not even looking at her like a monster, just listening intently. And instead of freaking out, he points out they totally skipped the formal introductions. So our boy gives his full name and age because apparently manners are important even in a demon pact. Renoa is completely thrown, wondering why on earth he is choosing now asterisk for a meet and greet. And he just tells her straight up, he knows she is not a bad person, so the pact is staying. This simple act of trust completely shatters her composure, leaving her visibly shaken. With Makoto adding that this is his way of showing he is counting on her from now on, she is just totally speechless, completely disarmed by his unwavering faith in her. Finally managing a small smile, calling him strange but agreeing to the deal if he is. Our boy just gives a confident smirk, their very unusual partnership now officially sealed. And with that settled, he finally gets to his feet, ready to leave this place. This two of them walk toward the dungeon exit together, a proper team at last. But as they depart, a demonic hand erupts from the ground where they just were, revealing a new villain who is furious that the fallen angel Renoa apparently betrayed their group. His horned, lab coat-wearing buddy tells him to shut up, claiming her betrayal is meaningless. But the first guy just flashes a psychotic grin, finding the whole situation hilarious. Admitting he was hoping for some entertainment, and it seems he is about to get it. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to a quiet cityscape at night, a world away from the chaos. Focusing on a simple apartment building, likely where Makoto is finally heading home. Back at his apartment, Makoto announces they have arrived at his humble abode, number 303. He flips on the lights, the packed crystal on his hand catching the stark fluorescent glare. And his place is basically a monk's cell with slightly better lighting, a true bachelor pad. Our boy casually tells Renoa to make herself at home, which seems to completely short-circuit her brain, so she just stands there awkwardly, probably wondering where the demonic thrones and lava pits are. After a moment of hesitation, she finally just plops down on the floor by his desk. And her first review is in, she asks if this is seriously a place for humans, a 5-star burn. In her expert opinion, it is no different from a demon world cave, just a box to keep the rain out, which has Makoto a little flustered, admitting it is just for sleeping but clearly feeling the judgment. To change the subject, he asks Renoa if there is anything she actually likes, clarifying that it can be literally anything, just trying to find some common ground with his new partner. Her answer is surprisingly simple and elegant. She enjoys beautiful scenery. That actually clicks for him, and he admits her answer makes a lot of sense, which gives him an idea. He suggests they try putting some flowers in the room. Renoa's expression is pure confusion as he explains his very simple, wholesome reasoning. But then a small smile appears as she agrees, calling it good taste and a great idea. Beaming, he proposes a new team ritual. They will buy flowers every time they clear a dungeon. This simple promise earns him a truly warm, genuine smile from the fallen angel. But with all the excitement over, Makoto lets out a huge yawn, admitting he is totally wiped. Renoa's eyes then land on the only bed in the room as she asks a very loaded question. Makoto just agrees, saying he will change his clothes, completely missing the point of her question, as Renoa's already claimed the bed, noting it is a bit cramped for 2 people to share. This sends our boy into a full-blown panic, but she just says sharing was normal in heaven. What? He then remembers a key detail, desperately asking if divine spirits can even sleep outside their stones. And when she admits she cannot, he politely suggests she just pop back into the crystal for the night. With a quick good night, she dissolves back into the packed stone, crisis officially averted for our boy. Makoto just stares at the glowing gem, probably processing the last 5 minutes of pure chaos. And later that night he lies awake, wondering what his next move should be now that everything's changed. He realizes that if anyone finds out he is pact bound to a demon, he will have to go solo. So he decides to start small, targeting the only dungeon he can clear alone, a lowly F rank. This next day he heads straight to the Japan Hunter Association headquarters to get started. Inside, he checks in with Renoa, who confirms she is fine with his decision to start from the bottom. But he is a little worried, since a flashy purple sacred stone is going to attract unwanted attention. At the counter, he goes to register for his dungeon, trying his best to keep a low profile. And the receptionist confirms his request for an F-rank dungeon, a totally routine procedure. But suddenly, a massive presence rocks the entire lobby, startling everyone, including Makoto. A crowd immediately forms, whispering that the real deal has shown up, a rare sight at HQ. With someone gushing over how handsome the newcomer is as a pair of boots confidently strides forward. And there he is, the S-rank hunter Amagi Yugo, looking cool and holding a bottle of booze. He casually takes a swig because apparently being S-rank means you can day drink at work. This crowd absolutely loses its mind, with fans clamoring for the S-rank's attention. But Amagi Yugo just takes another swig, looking completely bored by his own celebrity status. His gaze sweeps over the lobby, thinking that nothing ever really changes around here, until his eyes suddenly lock onto something or someone that actually gets his attention. And it is our boy Makoto just trying to mind his own business and stay under the radar. He feels the intense stare, realizing with dawning horror that they have made direct eye contact. A slow, predatory grin spreads across Yugo's face, clearly intrigued by our unassuming hero. In an instant, he is right in Makoto's face, demanding to know his name and rank, leaving Makoto completely stunned, pointing at himself like, "You are talking to me." Yugo explains it has been a while since he has spoken to a guy, which is a truly bizarre icebreaker. Trying to be polite, Makoto introduces himself and humbly admits he is just an F rank. This S rank just gives a non-committal "I see," his expression giving absolutely nothing away. He looms over Makoto, repeating F rank huh with a weirdly intense amount of focus. Our boy is getting seriously uncomfortable, asking if the top hunter actually needs something, but Yugo just pats him on the head like a lost puppy and apologizes for interrupting. He then immediately pivots to the receptionist, laying on the charm and asking her out for tea. As he walks off, he casually calls out Makoto's name, leaving the kid utterly bewildered. Makoto is left standing there, trying to process if he was just flirted with by a national hero. Meanwhile, the receptionist is having a full-blown system meltdown, clutching her clipboard for dear life. She is lost in a fantasy about Lord Amagi before snapping back to ask Makoto to finish his request. Makoto is left completely baffled by the S-Rank's bizarre behavior, a true celebrity moment. But the still flustered receptionist finally hands over the tablet with the dungeon coordinates, and with his objective in hand, he heads out, ready to finally get back on track. His destination is a surprisingly serene forest, bathed in sunlight and looking anything but dangerous, where he finds the swirling purple gate to his supposedly low-level dungeon. He quickly confirms the coordinates on his device, making sure this is the right place. And with a confident smirk, our boy prepares to step into his first solo mission. He walks right through the portal, leaving the peaceful forest behind for the challenge within. This inside, however, is a dark, oppressive cave that feels way too heavy for an F-rank dungeon. Renoa appears beside him, asking for confirmation that F-rank demons are supposed to be the weakest. And as the cave glows an ominous red, Makoto asks if she is sensing something off too. In a flash, a pair of monstrous paws surrounded by blue energy slams into the ground, forcing Makoto to instantly react, his hand crackling with dark power to defend himself. He immediately clashes with a blurry, high-speed creature in a brutal opening exchange, barely managing to dodge out of the way of the lightning-fast assault. This thing is moving with a speed that definitely does not scream bottom-tier monster. So he summons a dark sword as Renoa asks if he is okay after that surprise attack. Our boy is just stunned, watching the blue-streaked beast move at an insane velocity, only to realize it is not just one, it is a whole pack of snarling chaos wolves. Renoa immediately identifies them as D-rank demons, confirming that this dungeon's label was a complete lie. Makoto stares down the massive chaos wolves, questioning if this is really a D-rank dungeon. Completely surrounded, our boy shields Renoa as he prepares for the inevitable fight. A quick glance confirms the worst, the gate is sealed, so there is no running away from this. He admits to Renoa that with his current power, this is looking pretty grim, because taking on this whole pack at once is way beyond his F-rank pay grade. Renoa just watches him, her expression unreadable as she assesses the dire situation. Forcing himself to calm down, Makoto decides the only strategy is to thin the herd. His plan is simple enough, focus everything on taking down one wolf at a time, starting now. But a paw immediately swipes down from above, forcing him into a last-second dodge, and he barely evades a lunge from another wolf, its jaws snapping shut right where he was. Our boy is shocked to see a third one already flanking him. These things are working together. Ducking under a massive swipe, he is already feeling the pressure of their coordinated assault. He slides across the ground, using his dark sword to deflect another incoming attack. Makoto realizes their teamwork is solid, calling it an incredibly annoying trait for a pack of monsters. Gritting his teeth, he desperately tries to think of a way to break their formation. Just then, a wolf lunges forward, its massive jaws wide open for the kill. So he shoves his sword right into its mouth, a truly desperate but effective block. While he is occupied, another wolf exploits the opening and attacks him from the side. This kid winces, clearly taking a nasty hit from the perfectly timed pincer move, and he gets sent flying by the brutal, combined force of the pack's relentless attack. Down on one knee, Makoto admits every single one of these wolves is dangerously strong. And they are also smart, attacking in perfect sync the second they spot any kind of opening. Meanwhile, Renoa is just chilling on a shadow throne, deciding to see how this plays out. Thanks for the help. Our boy gets back to his feet, facing down the snarling pack in a tense standoff. As one of the wolves growls, its red eyes glowing while it prepares to lead the charge. Makoto's expression hardens as a desperate, high-risk plan forms in his mind. And he knows it is a massive gamble, but it is literally the only play he has left. With a deep breath, he reaches down, his dark energy swirling around his hand, only to completely dispel it, leaving himself seemingly wide open and powerless. Renoa is absolutely stunned, realizing he just turned off his own ability, a truly insane move. Taking the bait, the entire pack lunges forward at once to finish off the now defenseless hunter. But at the last second, he unleashes his power again, summoning a shadow weapon from his hand. This dark blade materializes just in time to block the lead wolf's snapping jaws, and in a flash of purple, he slices clean through two of the beasts in one fluid motion. Panting, he is just relieved he managed to pull his powers back in the nick of time, and even Renoa is impressed, admitting his plan to create a fake opening was pretty brilliant. She then asks the million-dollar question, why is this happening in a supposedly low-level dungeon? And Makoto has no clue, but he is pretty sure they have landed in a D-rank dungeon by mistake. At his current strength, he knows a D-rank is way out of his league, but with the gate sealed, his only option is to find and defeat the dungeon boss. Makoto looks up, sensing something deeper in the cave, and of course it is a whole new pack of chaos wolves because his day was not bad enough. But Renoa tells him not to worry since he's got a few new tricks up his sleeve now, instructing him to just raise a hand and imagine shadow chains to bind a target. Our boy hesitantly gives it a try, looking like he is about to do a magic trick at a kid's party, when a massive set of purple shadow chains suddenly erupts from his palm, instantly ensnaring the lead wolf and stopping its charge dead in its tracks. This new skill is Shadow Bind, a handy little crowd control ability for inconvenient dog piles, and Makoto gets a smug little grin, realizing he just got a serious power-up. This chains hold the beast tight, completely neutralizing the immediate threat, which lets him move in for a clean, decisive strike with his shadow sword. He seems almost surprised by how well that actually worked, just as another wolf leaps in to attack, giving him a new test subject. With way more confidence this time, he unleashes another Shadow Bind, easily trapping the second wolf and proving the first time was not just a fluke. He is so hyped about his new power, he is practically riding the monster, calling the ability incredible. Though Renoa pops in to remind him it is a huge magic drain, so maybe do not get cocky. With the pack dealt with, he finally continues his trek deeper into the dungeon. Makoto stands there all proud, thinking it is over and he is not even tired, famous last words. Over the bodies of the wolves, Renoa explains that this is how hunters grow stronger, through battle. Makoto gives a confident smirk, finally admitting to himself that he is actually getting stronger. And with that little ego boost, he marches deeper into the dungeon to face the boss. Renoa explains his rapid level up is because he is finally applying his already trained body to real fights, adding that his sharp mind and strategic thinking are also top tier, and she is basically watching him like her favorite TV show, excited for the next episode. He finally arrives at a ridiculously huge, ornate door. Yep, that is the boss room, alright. Our boy just stands there for a moment, staring down the final challenge of this F-rank dungeon, but Renoa senses his mood shift, calling out his name with a hint of concern. And she appears beside him to ask what is wrong since he has gone completely silent. Makoto goes full shonen hero, declaring that it is a hunter's solemn duty to clear dungeons, explaining that only a hunter can open the door to the boss's lair anyway. He admits he is both terrified of a D-rank boss and incredibly excited for the challenge, because this is his chance to finally prove he is a real hunter, not just a weakling. Renoa immediately shuts down his monologue, telling him not so fast, this is just the tutorial level. Taking her point, Makoto clenches his fist, realizing this is only the beginning of his journey, then launches into a grand vow to become a world-saving hero and make it out alive. With his big hero speech complete, he grabs the handle and prepares to enter the arena, and the doors swing open to reveal nothing but pure, ominous darkness. He steps into the misty, unsettling chamber, the air thick with dread, and all that bravado immediately evaporates as a single bead of sweat drips down his face. And the boss is a massive D-rank hell scorpion, so much for an F-rank dungeon, whose outer shell Makoto immediately notes looks ridiculously tough to crack. He is already trying to analyze its mineral-like armor even as his hands are shaking, and Renoa, ever the helpful one, asks if our boy is scared of the giant death bug. Clenching his fist, Makoto tries to play it cool, insisting that he is totally fine, claiming it is just battle jitters, a likely story when you are facing a monster that big. This scorpion does not wait for his monologue to end, bringing its massive stinger down, which slams into the ground with enough force to shake the entire cavern. That stinger is basically a giant, crystal-tipped spear meant to turn him into a shish kebab. And having dodged, he knows taking a direct hit from that thing is an instant game over. Before he can even breathe, the stinger whips back for another lightning-fast strike, forcing him to throw up a last-second shadow shield just to survive the impact. He gets pushed back hard, barely managing to deflect the blow with his sword, and his blade just scrapes uselessly off the armor, sending sparks everywhere. Yep, just as he thought, this thing's hide is ridiculously tough to damage. As the scorpion winds up again, Makoto scrambles to come up with a better plan, deciding to focus on dodging while he searches for any kind of weak spot. He figures even the toughest armor has to have weaker joints somewhere, right? Meanwhile, Renoa just watches from her throne, completely unbothered thanks for the moral support. His eyes lock onto the monster's leg joints, hoping he has finally found his opening. He goes all in, aiming his shadow sword right for the monster's leg joint, and brings it down with every ounce of strength he has in a massive overhead strike, which does absolutely nothing, not even leaving a scratch on that ridiculous armor. This rebound actually sends him flying back, proving his sword is basically a toothpick here. So in a moment of pure desperation, he asks Renoa if she has any bright ideas, and she basically says, nope, you're too weak to hurt it. Truly inspiring stuff. Makoto just grins, deciding this is the perfect time for a mid-battle level up, just as the scorpion winds up its crystal stinger for another round of turn the hunter into paste. Thinking fast, our boy unleashes his brand new Shadow Bind ability, wrapping the massive stinger in a mess of dark, crackling chains, and he manages to stop the attack just before it splatters him all over the cavern floor. On the ground, Makoto admits that was way too close. A direct hit would have been an instant game over. But as he looks up, his eyes catch a tiny detail on one of the scorpion's legs. There is a small crack in the armor, the first and only weak spot he has seen so far. A new plan forms. If slashing does not work, maybe he just needs to hit it harder, which is a great thought to have right before a giant pincer tries to slice him in half. He is back to dodging for his life as the scorpion unleashes a furious pincer combo, and the kid realizes its attacks are only getting faster and more aggressive. Slashing is useless, so he decides he needs to change the very shape of his weapon, and right on cue, Renoa pops in to remind him how he first summoned his shadow blade. A sudden flash of insight hits Makoto as he puts the pieces together, remembering her hint about how he first imagined his shadow weapon into existence. With a confident smirk, he finally understands what he needs to do, just as the scorpion lunges, forcing him to leap high into the air to dodge. Renoa points out the obvious from the sidelines. He is a sitting duck up there, and right on cue, the monster shoots crystal spikes from the ground to impale him. But our boy was counting on this, unleashing a blast of shadow energy from his palm. He fires a shadow chain like a grappling hook, latching it right onto the scorpion's shell. Gripping the chain tight to use the monster's own body as an anchor point. Using the momentum, he swings himself down in a high-speed arc, aiming for its head. And mid-fall, he starts reshaping the dark energy of his weapon, transforming his useless sword into a gigantic, brutal-looking shadow hammer. He brings it down with all his might, smashing it directly into the scorpion's weak spot. His face pure focus as he puts every last ounce of power into the blow. Looking at the dazed beast, he admits he was way too stubborn trying to slash it, and realizes his shadow weapon skill can create more than just swords, a serious game changer. He gives a silent thanks to Renoa for her less than obvious hint, though he wishes she'd just told him, but she insists self-discovery is the best teacher. Standing over the defeated boss, he agrees it was a pretty valuable experience after all. Makoto jokes about wanting more trials like this, and Renoa just looks horrified. Please no. This next day, our boy heads to the Hunter Association building to finally get paid, where the staff member who sent him to a death trap is apologizing so hard she might break. Makoto, playing it cool, just waves it off, saying it was actually a great growth opportunity. Relieved, she thanks him and confirms the reward is being sent to his account. And he sees the payout for a solo D rank clear, a whopping 1.5 million yen. She explains that is the standard rate, bowing again like he is some kind of celebrity now. In fact, she has gone full fangirl, calling him Mr. Hunter with literal stars in her eyes. Makoto just stands there for a second, processing that he is no longer broke and actually respected. Then a huge, satisfied grin spreads across his face. Yep, this is the life. Feeling rich, he turns to Renoa and suggests they go buy those flowers they talked about, thinking he can finally afford a nice bouquet when a familiar figure walks past him, and a flash of green hair makes him do a complete double take, wondering what he just saw. Suddenly, a woman with long green hair is standing right in front of him, calling his name. He is totally stunned, recognizing his childhood friend Kazin after all this time. She gives him a cheerful wave, asking how he has been since they last saw each other. He excitedly tells her he finally contracted a divine spirit, and she is absolutely floored by the news. Kazin praises him for working so hard, which reduces our tough guy to a blushing chibai. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery recognizes her as a famous B-rank prodigy, wondering why she is with a nobody. Renoa immediately pops up, looking extremely suspicious and demanding to know who this girl is. And Makoto explains this is Ryuka Kazin, his childhood friend and a super talented hunter. Makoto starts explaining to a very confused Renoa just who this girl is, adding that Kazin has a legendary hatred for demons for a very good reason. We flash back to them as kids, inseparable friends from the very beginning, and that bond apparently stayed strong all the way through their school years. But then we see the tragedy, her older brother trying to protect her from a demon attack. And the absolute terror on his face says this is not going to end well. He takes a nasty hit to the leg, slowing him down for a final stand, screaming at Kazin to run while he tries to buy her some time, but she can only watch in horror as he tells her to survive without him. Her brother gets brutally taken out right in front of her, a core memory nobody wants. 2 years ago, they both got their sacred stones, hoping to become hunters together. But Makoto had to apologize because his divine spirit was a total no-show. He felt like a failure, unable to keep their promise to fight side by side, and while Kazin understood she could not afford to wait for him to catch up, this basically drove a wedge between them, leaving Makoto completely behind. Back in the present, they are catching up over dessert because nothing heals trauma like a good parfait. She is amazed he soloed a D-rank dungeon while he admits he is still officially F-rank. But she is not letting him downplay it, saying he is finally living up to his potential. Then she leans in and asks the million-dollar question, what kind of spirit did he get? Makoto just freezes, trying to figure out how to explain his super-secret, probably illegal demon queen spirit. Renoa, in his head, wonders about her summon conditions while Makoto panics about how to explain her existence. So he tries to play it off, telling Kazin his spirit is just shy, a world-class excuse. Of course, Renoa is not having it, insisting she is just complicated and telling him to be quiet. To show him how it is done, Kazin decides to introduce her own divine spirit, summoning an upper-ranked wind spirit named Wave who looks like a 5-star butler. This spirit is so polite it is almost painful, bowing and making Makoto feel totally outclassed. Kazin then pivots, asking when he is going to get his rank reassessed, and suggests he should probably focus on getting stronger until then, subtly. Her big idea is for them to tackle a C-rank dungeon together, which is a huge jump for him. Makoto immediately hesitates, the sweat drop telling the whole story right there. He is convinced he will just be a burden since the power gap between them is massive, but her expression turns into a deeply unsettling, shadowed smile, so much for a friendly offer. She remembers when he used to lead her as a kid, thinking this is his big chance to grow. Then she is all smiles again, absolutely thrilled they can finally go on a mission together. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association headquarters, the mood is a lot less cheerful. We cut to the first conference room where something serious is clearly going down. Inside, a high-level meeting is underway and the main topic is a new threat, the Magin. These are described as intelligent, humanoid demons of B rank or higher, basically top-tier nightmares. After years of staying hidden, they have recently started killing hunters again, with a dozen victims so far. This association's president, Kamuro, grimly recalls fighting them, confirming their power is no joke. President Kamuro laughs that in his prime he'd handle these Magin himself, a classic back-in-my-day speech. Section Chief Mishima insists her gate management system is working perfectly, thank you very much. Except survivors say the Magin only show up after the dungeon is cleared, making her system totally useless. Just then, a blonde pretty boy named Amagi strolls in late, bottle in hand, acting like he owns the place. He smoothly deflects Mishima's anger with some shameless flirting which goes over about as well as you'd expect. On screen, the faces of the dozen dead hunters serve as a grim reminder of the stakes. After a quick drink, Amagi casually mentions he might have a solution to their little superdemon problem, and basically volunteers for the suicide mission, claiming he's got nothing better to do anyway. With full confidence, the president gives him the green light and Amagi heads out with a cocky salute. Meanwhile, Makoto and Kazin are about to start their own mission, and he is already looking stressed. As Amagi leaves, he smirks about testing a prediction. This guy is definitely up to something. This scene shifts to a creepy abandoned hallway, the lovely entrance to their C-rank dungeon. A flash of purple energy signals their arrival inside the gate's chaotic dimension, where Makoto asks Kazin if she is nervous, and she actually admits she is, just a little. His internal monologue is a mess of anxiety over the dungeon's rank and the Renoa-Kazin drama. Kazin goes full big sister mode, promising to protect him, which just makes our boy blush. He quickly shakes it off, determined to prove he is not just dead weight on this mission. They stand together in a swirling vortex of dark energy, the air thick with danger. And right on cue, their first opponents appear, a pair of nasty-looking C-rank gargoyle demons. Makoto's eyes narrow as shadow energy crackles around his hand, ready to throw down. Makoto tries to get his bearings, thinking they should assess the situation first. But Kazin's plan is just to blitz the gargoyle with a flash of green light, instantly turning the demon into a headless mess before it can even react. Makoto is left standing there, completely stunned, having contributed absolutely nothing. Her face is pure ice as she declares all demons must be eradicated. Yeah, she is not kidding. Our boy is just floored by the raw power and fury she is putting out, way beyond his league. Suddenly, she freezes in place, sensing something else is wrong, and turns on a dime, saying there is another demonic presence coming from his direction. Her eyes narrow, wondering if the demonic energy is actually coming from Makoto himself. Inside his head, it is just pure panic. His secret demon queen contract is already blown. She keeps staring him down, weapon glowing, clearly not buying whatever excuse he is about to make up, and his brain is just screaming this is bad. On a loop because yeah, it is. This shadow energy practically dripping from his hand is the dead giveaway, a beacon of demonic power, but then she just shrugs it off, assuming she mistook his energy for a demon that escaped. He plays along immediately, telling her to stay alert, trying to look helpful and not suspicious. Makoto realizes her intense hatred for demons has basically given her a built-in demon radar, which means she definitely sensed the magic from his shadow ability, the one from Renoa. Renoa confirms it from his mind, while he frets over how to explain his situation without getting killed. After seeing her go full Terminator on that gargoyle, he knows the truth is not an option. Right on cue, the actual demon boss appears, a colossal, winged nightmare ready for round 2. Kazin immediately powers up with her wind spirit's mantle, her eyes glowing with intent. And the boss demon does not even have time to scream before a green blur slams into it, because she is already in the air, zipping around like a human blender on a caffeine high, punching a hole straight through one of the gargoyles with a single, focused blast, and she just keeps carving through them, leaving a trail of green light and shredded demon parts. Her face is pure ice, completely locked in on her one mission, total demon annihilation. Makoto just stands there watching her fly, realizing he is basically the designated cheerleader down here. When a gargoyle finally dives at him, he decides it is time to actually contribute something. He moves to intercept, determined to prove he is not just here for moral support, telling Kazin to leave this one to him as he summons his own dark power. And facing 2 more demons, he thinks he has grown too, ready to show off a new trick. He focuses his energy, forming a brand new shadow weapon in his hand, which turns out to be a freaking shadow gun firing a blast of concentrated darkness. This attack rips right through the demon, slicing it into several conveniently sized pieces. Even Kazin is stunned, wondering how his sword just turned into a projectile weapon. She lands and casually mentions sensing demonic energy from him before but dismisses it since it is gone. Makoto is sweating pure relief, realizing he dodged that bullet by a hair's breadth, but Renoa's voice pops into his head asking if he really plans to keep lying forever. He internally defends her, insisting she is not just some random demon, she is his partner. This kid wishes he could just explain, but knows Kazin's deep-seated hatred makes that impossible. Makoto's brain is just a loop of pure panic, wondering how he is going to handle this situation. And as they reach the boss door, Kazin asks if he is even capable of focusing right now. He stammers out a yeah, while his inner monologue is just a high-pitched scream of nope. She just assumes he is nervous about the C-rank boss, which is fair, but not the whole story. Then she gives him a classic pep talk, telling him he is not alone and to just go all out. So our boy decides to shelve the existential dread until after they have beaten the boss, priorities, you know. With a quick thank you and a fist bump, they are finally ready to fight together again. This massive doors creak open, revealing whatever fresh hell awaits them inside. And it is a C-rank Cyclops, a giant red nightmare that makes Makoto feel incredibly small. Kazin, however, just powers up her wind spirit's mantle, vowing to kill every last demon. She immediately blitzes forward, a green streak of pure violence against the club-wielding boss. But Makoto's not just standing there this time, summoning some gnarly shadow chains around his arm. He unleashes a shadow bind, aiming to lock the big guy down for a combo attack. And while his chains connect, Kazin is already behind the beast, landing a solid kick. This Cyclops is just royally ticked off now, its single eye glowing with absolute rage. It breaks free and swings its massive club in a huge arc, which Kazin easily dodges, prompting them both to shout each other's names in a classic oh crap moment. In a flash, both of them are on the move, coordinating their next attack together, zipping around the boss in a blur of green wind and purple shadow, a pretty cool combo actually. Makoto slides right under the monster's legs, seeing the perfect opening for his strike. Makoto slides right under the Cyclops, aiming for a weak spot from below, while Kazin is already behind the beast, delivering a brutal kick to its back, and she smirks, realizing they are perfectly in sync, both aiming to throw the boss off balance. This monster roars as her attack lands hard, staggering it just as they planned, which gives Makoto the opening to erupt his shadow chains from the ground, binding it completely. A confident grin spreads across his face as he tells her the big guy is all hers now. Thanking him for the perfect setup, her hands begin to glow with a terrifying amount of wind energy, and together with her spirit wave, she unleashes a devastating wind shower attack from above. A massive pillar of green light slams down, completely obliterating the boss in one glorious shot, leaving Makoto to just watch in awe, totally blown away by her sheer destructive power. After the dust settles, Kazin calls out his name, her voice full of excitement, and she gives him a huge smile, genuinely impressed with their perfect combo. Our boy immediately starts blushing, completely flustered by the genuine praise. He is not built for this. A triumphant high five seals the deal, celebrating their first boss kill as a proper team, and his inner monologue is just buzzing about how perfectly they work together, all thanks to her. But he clenches his fist, knowing they cannot stop here and have to get even stronger. Even her butler spirit wave pops in to praise their teamwork, which Kazin just chalks up to their long history. Then with a radiant smile, she offers her hand, declaring their partnership can take them anywhere. This poor guy just freezes, a single drop of sweat telling us this is way too much pressure. So taking a deep breath, he finally decides to come clean, saying there is something he has to tell her. He reaches for her hand, about to finally confess his secret, but can only stammer out an I. But the moment is shattered as they both whip their heads around, sensing a powerful new presence. They stand back to back on full alert as the supposedly cleared boss room fills with dread. A violent pillar of purple energy erupts from the ground, so much for a clean exit. From the portal, a single boot steps out, heralding the arrival of their uninvited guest. Both of them are completely stunned, wondering what fresh hell is crawling out of the floor now. A pale, clawed hand emerges from the swirling vortex, dripping with pure malevolence, and out steps a horned pretty boy with a six-pack and a seriously evil grin. He locks eyes with them, smugly announcing he has finally found who he was looking for. This new demon radiates pure, unfiltered malice, clearly enjoying their absolute terror. Makoto is paralyzed, realizing this guy's aura is leagues beyond any demon he has ever faced. His mind races, a humanoid demon, which is basically the worst-case scenario. Kazin steps in front of Makoto, her eyes blazing as she correctly identifies him as a Magin. This demon, Grom, confirms it with a fanged smirk, clearly proud of his superdemon status. It all clicks for Makoto. The rumors about Magin ambushing cleared dungeons were horrifyingly true. Immediately, Kazin tells him to run, fully intending to sacrifice herself as a distraction. He refuses, insisting they have to escape together, but she has already made up her mind. Powering up her wind spirit's mantle, she prepares to go all out just to buy him a few seconds. She launches herself at Grom in a flash of green light, a desperate all-or-nothing attack. But he just laughs, mocking her speed and asking if that is really all she has got. Even at full power, Kazin is completely stunned by how little her attack is doing, and Makoto can only watch the blurs, realizing this is her giving it her absolute all. This kid clenches his fist, totally useless and unable to find a single opening to help. Her ultimate attack is stopped cold by one hand and a set of demonic abs, and he effortlessly catches her blade mid-strike, smugly telling her he has got her now. Then with a flick of his wrist, he just hurls her across the room like a ragdoll. His expression is one of mild surprise, as if he expected a bit more of a fight. Kazin goes spiraling towards the ground, completely overpowered and out of control, so she desperately orders her spirit wave to pull out their last resort secret technique. Together, they start channeling a massive amount of wind energy for one final gambit. Unleashing a concentrated blast called Milestone while still falling through the air, and a massive pillar of swirling green energy erupts, aimed straight at the Magin. This beam of pure destruction slams down with enough force to shake the whole dungeon, but Grom just throws up a shadowy wing, blocking the whole thing with a grunt of annoyance. She lands on her feet, completely drained after pouring everything into that last shot. This ground cracks under her feet as the last of her power dissipates from the landing. Grom stands there completely unfazed, calling her ultimate attack a gentle breeze. Ouch. Her face just drops, realizing her absolute best shot did literally nothing to him. He mocks her intense grudge against demons, and she just spits back that she will kill every last one. His evil grin widens as he teases her, hinting there is a big secret she is missing. She demands to know what the hell he is talking about, completely bewildered by his taunt. And Grom just points, dropping the bombshell that Makoto has made a pact with a demon. Our boy is absolutely sweating, his face a perfect mix of oh crap and pure rage. But Kazin, still airborne, immediately denies it is even possible, which Grom confirms it is. She passionately defends him, insisting he'd never keep a secret like that, oh sweet, naive child. Meanwhile, Makoto's clenched fist and a single drop of sweat tell a very different story. So she lands and confronts him directly, asking why he has suddenly gone completely silent. She begs him to just deny it, but he knows the lie is finally over. And holding out his hand, he confesses that it is true he made a pact. With that, he summons Renoa, who materializes from the shadows right next to him. And Kazin's expression just shatters into a million pieces of pure shock and betrayal. Her eye reflects the winged demon that just emerged from his supposedly sacred stone. So Makoto immediately tries to explain, hoping she will at least listen to Renoa's story. But her hand just trembles as the full weight of his lie finally sinks in. Completely losing her composure, she screams at him, asking why he would ever do this. Because her trust is gone, her face twisting as she declares all demons are enemies. He pleads with her to calm down and just talk, but that ship has sailed, my friend. And she grits her teeth, vowing to start her demon-slaying spree with Renoa. Powering up her wind blade, she lunges straight for Renoa, screaming Magin. But Makoto intercepts the attack, blocking his oldest friend with a single annoyed word. Kazin coughs, reeling from the sheer force of Makoto's block. He clearly did not hold back. But before anyone can process that, Grom blitzes past our boy and grabs Kazin by the throat. So Makoto unleashes his shadow chains in response, except they are not aimed at the Magin. They wrap around Renoa instead, binding her tightly as she cries out in total confusion. Grom just points, revealing his true target was the fallen angel all along. Plot twist. Renoa's face twists in disgust, confirming she knows this creep and wishes she did not. Explaining that after she fell, the Magin tried to forcibly recruit her into their ranks. It clicks for Makoto that these guys are not just monsters, they are an organized, intelligent threat. Renoa insists she'd never join them, declaring all demons are her sworn enemies, period. With a predatory grin, Grom dangles the one thing she might actually want: revenge on the spirits who abandoned her. She immediately tells him to shut his mouth, but you can tell that little Sale's pitch landed right on a raw nerve. He keeps pushing, promising her the freedom to kill as many divine spirits as she wants, and the offer expands to include humans and other demons, a real all-you-can-kill buffet. Renoa finally cracks, screaming at him to stop as his words tear down her defenses. Her resolve completely shatters, leaving her stammering and unable to form a coherent thought. With tears streaming down her face, she whispers, I am. And you just know this is going somewhere bad, but Makoto steps in front to shield her, declaring that she is absolutely nothing like them. Grom looks genuinely baffled by this, asking what could possibly make her so different. Our boy defines a true demon as something that hurts others without any reason at all, then roars that Renoa is kind and pure-hearted and his one and only dependable partner. Renoa is completely floored by his declaration, her eyes wide as she just whispers his name. But Grom just scoffs at the whole power of friendship's speech, calling it pathetic and disgusting, and powering up with a manic grin, he promises to crush them both for his own entertainment. So Makoto and Renoa stand together, a united front against the overwhelming darkness, while the Magin just cracks his knuckles, looking down on them like they are bugs he is about to squash. Renoa quickly whispers a plan, exploit his arrogance to create an opening and escape, but Grom's smug grin and flexing claws tell us he is enjoying this way too much. In a flash of red, he lunges forward, throwing a punch that is a blur of pure power, and Makoto barely gets his shadow sword up in time, completely shocked by the insane speed. This demon is already behind him, taunting him about which way to look, a total nightmare. A brutal kick sends our boy flying through a vortex of purple energy, and he gets absolutely rocked, the impact sending him spiraling through the air. Crashing hard, Makoto can only cough as the Magin looms over him, completely unfazed. From the ground, he desperately unleashes his shadow bind, a last-ditch effort to do asterisk something, and the chains shoot out, managing to wrap around Grom's arm in a seemingly successful grab. So Makoto pulls with everything he has, trying to form the chains into a weapon. Grom, however, looks more bored than anything, examining the chains like a minor inconvenience. With a casual flick, he fires a shadow bullet right back at its owner. Talk about an Uno reverse. This Magin effortlessly deflects his own redirected attack with a simple hand gesture, then catches the bullet, smugly asking if it would not be more fun to just throw it back. Absolute disrespect. Grom just smirks, asking if our boy is already running out of party tricks. Makoto is absolutely furious, knowing he is being completely toyed with and cannot do a thing. From the ground, a wounded Kazin watches the whole thing unfold, totally helpless. Her eyes widen in pure terror as she realizes what he is about to do, because Makoto just screams and charges forward, a move fueled by pure, unadulterated rage. He gets a brutal punch straight to the jaw for his efforts, a real lesson in power levels. Kazin can only scream his name as she watches him get absolutely rocked. Thankfully, Renoa swoops in to catch him before he goes flying across the room, and she holds him steady, her face a mask of grim determination. Meanwhile, Kazin is having a full-on existential crisis, still unable to process the betrayal. Her trust is so broken that she admits she cannot believe in anything anymore. Grom interrupts this moment of angst by kicking Makoto again, laughing about how weak he is. And the blow sends our boy doubling over in a display of one-sided violence. This Magin looms over him, declaring that no matter how much he struggles, it is all pointless. But Makoto uses his sword to force himself back to his feet, refusing to stay down, admitting to himself that he knows he is weak and cannot compete with this monster. Clenching his fist, the gem on his hand glows as he finds his second wind, and with shadows swirling, he roars that he absolutely refuses to give up. Seeing this last-ditch defiance, Kazin's expression shifts from despair to shock, as she tells him that if he gives up now, he will truly lose everything. A flashback hits with Makoto remembering the despair of losing his own parents, and we see him telling a younger, broken Kazin that survivors have to find a path forward. His younger self passionately insists they have to keep living and never ever give up. Back in the present, that memory brings a fresh wave of tears to Kazin's face, because she remembers it was his words alone that gave her the strength to move on. This touching moment is interrupted by Grom's fist connecting with Makoto's sword in a flash of pure energy, and our boy gets launched, the Magin sneering that a good attitude is not a superpower. Makoto slams hard into the ground, his hand hitting the stone as the gem on it glows faintly. But using his sword for support, he forces himself to one knee, insisting it is not over yet. A realization dawns on Kazin. This is who he has always been, stubborn and strong-hearted. Her entire worldview shifts, finally accepting that even with a demon pact, he is still her Makoto. So she finds her voice, screaming his name across the battlefield and telling him not to give up. And her shout actually cuts through the noise, making him turn back in utter surprise. With renewed faith, she tearfully tells him that she knows he can do this, a real 180 from a minute ago. Grom, however, is having none of this friendship speech, demanding Makoto pay attention to his own beatdown. So he immediately punishes the distraction, landing a brutal strike that shatters our boy's defense. Makoto's eyes just widen in shock as the blow connects, completely overpowering him, and reeling from the hit, his mind flashes back to how he hurt Kazin just moments before. Yet, despite everything, she is the one now cheering him on from the sidelines. It sinks in that she has put her trust in him again, giving him the one push he desperately needed. Fueled by her trust, Makoto roars that he absolutely cannot die here, and he meets Grom's next attack head-on, screaming that he refuses to fall. This Magin is actually surprised, noting our boy's sudden and dramatic increase in speed, because now Makoto is not just fighting for himself, he is fighting for us. With a look of pure, unshakable focus, he prepares to turn the tables, vowing that they are all going to survive this and make it back home. His blade connects, leaving a trio of bloody gashes on the demon's body, and Grom actually stumbles back, forced to reposition after taking a real hit. For the first time, our heroes are on the offensive, with Renoa right by Makoto's side, leaving the Magin with a fresh cut on his face and a look of genuine shock. From the sidelines, Kazin just whispers, "Incredible," her faith completely rewarded. Grom just licks his own blood, finding the fact he got wounded absolutely hilarious. Deciding the warm-up is officially over, he declares it is time to end the fun, and he starts charging a massive sphere of chaotic energy as a parting gift. Both Makoto and Renoa are stunned by the sheer, violent magical power pouring off this thing, but Grom uses the moment to give Renoa one last chance to join his side. He even dangles the possibility of letting her friends go if she defects. What a generous offer. This demon taunts her, asking if she really wants to watch her precious partner get vaporized. Makoto, however, just cracks a tiny, confident smirk, completely unfazed by the threat, and Renoa mirrors him with a knowing smile. Looks like they have got a plan. Renoa's answer is a hard no, declaring that neither she nor Makoto will ever bow to a demon. And Grom takes that rejection super well, by deciding to just kill them with his death ball. He unleashes his Doom of the Underworld, a massive pillar of chaotic red energy. So Renoa wraps her wings around Makoto, bracing for an impact that is about to vaporize them. But at the last second, a mysterious blue shield appears and completely blocks the attack, leaving everyone, including the demon, totally stunned by the sudden, impossible save. This blue energy just casually absorbs Grom's ultimate move like it is a minor inconvenience, completely neutralizing a blast that would have wiped them off the face of the earth. A hand lands on Makoto's shoulder, and he turns to see who just pulled off that miracle. It is a new guy in a long coat, announcing he will not let a bright future be extinguished. He introduces himself as Amagi Yugo, asking the Magin if he wants to play too. What an entrance. Yugo plants himself right between our heroes and the demon, making it clear the fight has a new challenger. Makoto recognizes him and Yugo just tells the kid to stand down and let the professional take over. Our boy is just floored by the overwhelming presence, realizing this is an S-rank hunter. Yugo sizes up Grom, admitting he looks pretty strong for a monster about to get wrecked, then drops the bomb with a smirk. Without a doubt, I am stronger than you, love the confidence. Grom's eye twitches, clearly not a fan of being talked down to by this blonde pretty boy. But Yugo's real motivation is simple payback for Grom hurting his junior hunter, Makoto. He summons a massive soul or divine spirit, asking the demon if he is ready for a real fight. And Grom just scoffs, cracking his knuckles while hoping this S-rank is not all talk. Grom decides he has heard enough talk, kicking things off with a massive energy blast. And he rushes Yugo with a furious slash, ready to shut the pretty boy up for good. But Yugo just casually catches the punch with one hand, zero effort required, then politely asks Grom not to touch his face since it is a key business asset. What a flex. With a flick of the wrist, our S-rank hunter sends the Magin flying like a ragdoll. So Grom tries to get clever, opening a portal to reposition himself midair. And Yugo just eats a golden sword right into it, much to the demon's surprise. That blade of light zips through the portal, heading for an unknown destination, which turns out to be right above Grom's head, sending him crashing back down. As the demon falls, Yugo just smirks and welcomes him back. The disrespect is legendary. He follows up with a devastating kick, meeting Grom on his way down, and the blow connects with a flash of holy light, absolutely wrecking the Magin. Yugo then asks if it is confusing when you realize you are not the top dog anymore. Both of them plummet deeper into the abyss, continuing their high-speed beatdown. While Renoa explains that only divine power from spirits can truly hurt demons like Grom, adding that the amount of energy Yugo is putting out is completely off the charts. Finally, having a full-blown tantrum, Grom powers up a massive ball of dark energy, unleashing his absolute darkness attack in a desperate, rage-fueled wave. Yugo, completely unfazed, prepares his own ultimate move, the Sky Piercer, with his spirit, and the two god-tier attacks race toward each other for a world-shattering collision. But the fight is interrupted by another demon, this one with pink energy claws and a serious grudge, and Yugo's response to this new threat is to just casually snap his fingers, which apparently creates a shield that completely shatters the demon's attack on impact, while also somehow carving a massive gash across the guy's chest. Talk about multitasking. Makoto and Renoa can only watch from the ground, absolutely floored that Yugo did not even move. Our S-rank hunter then taunts the demon about his fatal wound, asking if he is even trying. As the demon clutches his chest in pain, Yugo keeps poking, asking why he is not using his real abilities. This brilliant psychological tactic works perfectly, sending the demon into a blind rage as he charges. But a white-haired female demon suddenly appears at his side, looking like she is the adult in the room. Yugo glances back at Makoto and Renoa, probably just checking if they are taking notes on this beatdown. This male demon is actually furious at his partner, yelling her name, Fane, and demanding to know why she is here. Fane just calls him a fool, pointing out that using his big move while injured would be a really dumb way to die. Her glowing red eyes make it pretty clear she is the one with the actual plan here. Turning to Yugo, she proposes a truce, admitting that a real fight would be messy for both sides. Yugo just smirks, conceding that she looks pretty strong herself, a little professional courtesy. She declares it a draw and starts to retreat, but her partner immediately throws a tantrum, screaming it is not over. Fane gives him a look that just screams, why cannot you listen to me for 5 seconds? After a moment of pouting, the guy finally caves and agrees to leave. Guess we know who wears the pants. This two of them vanish in a swirl of dark energy, leaving Yugo and the kids alone at last. Of course, the demon has to get the last word, promising to come back and kill them all later. Yugo just watches the trail of energy, the demons having made a clean getaway. With the coast clear, Renoa helps a battered Makoto, the S-rank hunter, just observing. Makoto is still processing the whole saved by a god-tier hunter thing, as is Kazin. Yugo casually asks if the demons just bounced, and Makoto finally finds his voice to thank him. Our boy gives a full formal bow, super grateful for the last-minute rescue. This S-ranker accepts the thanks and suggests a little debrief as they head out. So the whole crew starts making their way out of the abyss, Yugo leading the way. Then Yugo drops a bomb, casually revealing he has known about Makoto's demon pact all along. He even had someone tailing our boy, confirming his suspicions about a demon connection. But then he pivots to the real drama, asking if Makoto and Kazin have made up yet. Awkward. Kazin stammers, admitting she finally sees that deep down he is still the same Makoto. There is a but coming though, and Yugo just takes a swig of sake, ready for the tea. She clarifies that accepting him is not the same as trusting him, earning a dirty look from Renoa. Yugo then turns his attention to Renoa, correctly identifying her as a former spirit with demonic traits. He declares she is a key to something big, welcoming her and what is left of Makoto's humanity. Makoto just gives a confident smile, totally on board with this cryptic plan. This whole exchange has Kazin worried, calling out his name in concern. Yugo just cracks a tiny, knowing smirk. He is definitely playing 4D chess here. Our boy just says sounds great, clenching a fist as a golden aura flares around him. With his own power flaring, Yugo says he is looking forward to fighting alongside him as a partner. Meanwhile, Yugo's on the phone with the chairman, casually reporting the demon threat is handled, and his boss, a silver-haired official, thanks him for a job well done. Then Yugo brings up a former rank hunter, a guy named Yusei, who the chairman remembers as a notorious criminal that killed his fellow hunters. Turns out this psycho was in custody but just vanished the other day, whoops. Yugo basically tells the guy you messed up and says he is too busy to help clean up the mess, offering instead to send over data on two promising new hunters as a replacement. This chairman just agrees to check it later before hanging up the call. He then turns to someone who has been patiently waiting in his office this whole time, addressing a young blue-haired man and asking him to state his business. This kid introduces himself as Yusugi Aoji, the former disciple of that exact same criminal hunter. Aoji vows with cold determination that he is going to be the one to stop his old master. We then flash back to a rooftop sunset with a younger Aoji and his master, Yusei. Back then, the kid declared his only goal was to be a perfect hunter, and Yusei just calls him a stiff, saying he has no interest in a boring disciple. He gets right in Aoji's face, insisting that being a hunter should be fun first, but the kid is all business, arguing that duty comes before everything else. Yusei just tells him to drop the formal speech, trying to loosen him up a bit. His master muses that killing demons makes you a hero, but the rules are a total drag. Leaving him with one final lesson: pursue your ideals but never become a puppet for the association. Aoji takes that lesson to heart, vowing he cannot be like his master, who just calls him cheeky. We cut back to the present, a much more peaceful day by the water, where Makoto and Kazin are out for a morning jog, finally getting some normal time together. Kazin makes small talk, asking if he went to a flower shop for Renoa, which he confirms. While from a park bench, Yugo watches them run laps, just observing their dynamic. Trying to connect, she asks what else Renoa likes besides flowers, getting a little personal. But Makoto gets flustered, telling her she'd have to ask Renoa herself for that info. When suddenly the gem on his hand glows and his answer is a blunt "not particularly." Kazin is not impressed by the cold shoulder, reminding him they are supposed to be a team. He stops, feathers swirling around him, and throws her own words back, saying she is the one with trust issues. Our boy tries to smooth things over, but Kazin just straight up tells him to shut up, her tone completely changing as she looks past him, asking if he has seen the news, because it turns out everyone's buzzing about a criminal hunter who just escaped from prison. Makoto brings up the name, Himuro Yusei, confirming he is the highly skilled ranker who escaped. Followed by a grim image of Yusei standing over his fallen comrades, a truly brutal crime. Just as they are processing this, Makoto's phone starts buzzing in his pocket, and he pulls it out to find an email from the association. Kazin got one too. It is an emergency summons calling both of them in for an urgent matter, with the recommendation coming from Yugo himself making their debrief official. So they head straight for the Hunter Association headquarters, walking right into the lion's den. Inside HQ, a suit from the Abnormal Measures Division kicks off their very official debrief, revealing that on Yugo's recommendation, they are now assigned to the hunt for Himuro Yusei. And he explains that while the police have their own case, the Hunter Association needs to move too. Their best lead suggests the escaped criminal is probably hiding in the nearest gate he could find. So their mission is to investigate a C-rank gate, totally not a suicide mission, guys. Makoto immediately questions this, pointing out that a former rank is way out of their league, but the suit reassures them that they have called in an rank hunter for assistance. Right on cue, their high-ranked backup strolls into the room, ready for business, leaving Kazin completely shocked as she recognizes the newcomer, calling out his name. Yusugi. It is Aoji, the blue-haired hunter from the chairman's office, who gives her a cool greeting. With the lister present, the suit bows out, leaving the three of them to the mission details, which are all loaded up on 3 tablets waiting for them on the coffee table. Kazin makes some small talk, mentioning it has been a while since they cleared a gate together, while Makoto is just geeking out, realizing he is working with the only genius of their generation. Our boy tries to break the ice with a friendly introduction, but the vibe is immediately off. Because Aoji just drops his name and the fact he was Yusei's disciple, talk about a mood killer. He then gets straight to the point, skipping all the team-building pleasantries, and flat-out announces he has absolutely no intention of teaming up with them. Kazin is stunned, pleading with him to work together on such a dangerous mission, but Aoji just calls them a hindrance, saying he does not need their help. What a charmer. Aoji declares this is his personal responsibility, so he is going to hunt his master alone, and Kazin immediately jumps up, trying to get him to wait before he just ditches them, while Makoto tries a more logical approach, arguing that a 3-person team is way better. But Aoji does not even turn around, just coldly repeating that they are a hindrance. Ouch. Our boy makes a counteroffer. They will handle the gate's demons, letting Aoji focus on the search, which he points out is just way more efficient than this whole lone wolf routine, and for a split second the ranker actually seems to pause and consider it. So Makoto presses his advantage, reminding him they are hunters too and this is their duty. Aoji finally relents with a do as you please, the absolute bare minimum of teamwork, before adding that he will be doing whatever he wants to as he starts to walk off again. Since they have not actually planned anything, Kazin just tells Makoto they should follow him. This scene then cuts to a super ominous abandoned building at night, classic horror movie setup. A busted "Do Not Enter" sign on the ground makes it clear that warnings were ignored, because a few local kids are inside with flashlights, planning to claim the place as their turf. They are all excited about how massive the building is, already talking about splitting up the floors. And one of them shines his light into a dark classroom looking for a good spot, only to find the hallway blocked by a massive spiky blue crystal structure, which they realize is a gate but one that is completely frozen over for some reason. Their bravado vanishes instantly, the kids deciding to call the Hunter Association immediately. But as one turns to leave, he sees something off camera that stops him dead in his tracks. And what he sees is his buddy getting flash frozen into a spiky blue popsicle. This kid's flashlight clatters to the ground as he lets out a terrified scream, because the escaped psycho Yusei is standing right there, admiring his handiwork. Inside the crystal, the poor kid's face cracks along with the ice, which is just horrifying, and Yusei shatters the whole thing with a casual flick of his wrist, pure evil. He then complains about leaving unnecessary corpses and needing a better hiding spot. Priorities, man. Kneeling before the frozen gate, he mutters that he is totally in the right here, his first order of business being sweet, sweet revenge on the Hunter Association. We then cut to a peaceful forest, the location of the C-rank gate our heroes are investigating. Aoji leads the way, reminding everyone he is still on his solo mission, thanks for asking. But Makoto stops him, insisting there is something important he needs to share first. Our boy decides it is time to come clean about Renoa and his whole demon situation, only for Aoji to reveal Yugo already spoiled the surprise and told him everything. Makoto is stunned, asking if the ranker is going to judge him for it, but Aoji just says a demon contract is only evil if you do evil things with it. This completely short-circuits Makoto's brain. He was expecting a fight, not logic. Kazin gives him a little smile, basically saying, see, he is not so bad, while Aoji just brushes past them, ready to get on with the mission already. Makoto is genuinely moved, amazed that another hunter could be so understanding about his pact, and with that they step through the gate into a massive, ominous-looking hall. Inside the gate, they are immediately greeted by the C-rank boss, a giant, very angry spider. And our duo prepares for a tough fight, acknowledging this thing will not go down easy, which is confirmed when the spider fires off a nasty beam, forcing them to dodge for their lives. But Aoji just casually raises a hand, looking bored out of his mind, and instantly encases the entire monster in a massive block of spiky ice. Makoto and Kazin are just completely stunned, their jaws practically on the floor at the power gap. After shattering the frozen boss, Aoji asks how much longer they plan on wasting his time. What a guy. His advanced spirit Yuki floats beside him as Kazin just stares, still processing the one-shot. Makoto tries to thank him for the save, but Aoji is already over it, declaring the search a bust, stating there are no clues here and therefore no reason to stick around any longer. As Aoji starts to walk off again, Makoto is just geeking out over the sheer power of an ranker. Kazin wonders if he was always this self-centered, before noticing Makoto has a strange new glow, because our boy with Renoa on his shoulder just awakened a brand new ability mid-fight. He explains his new residual shadow sense, a skill that can detect traces of a target's shadow, and that is apparently the one magic phrase that can get Aoji to stop walking away. This new power can follow the footsteps of anyone who was there within the last 24 hours, how convenient. Makoto excitedly runs up to him, realizing this new skill could be the key to finding Yusei. So he asks Aoji if there is any place of importance his old master might have gone. Aoji actually provides a lead, mentioning a nearby hill where he and Yusei used to talk. With a new destination set, he finally leads the way, the team now having an actual plan. Kazin and Makoto try to decipher Aoji's silent treatment, concluding it is a very unfriendly follow me. He leads them to a high overlook with a sweeping, almost nostalgic view of the city below. And from this spot, the ranker just stares out at the skyline, completely lost in thought. Aoji reflects on how he never wanted to return here after his master's terrible betrayal. While Makoto puts it together, this is a place loaded with history for the master and disciple. Snapping out of it, Aoji impatiently tells Makoto to get on with it and use his new skill already. Our boy obliges, unleashing his residual shadow sense with a burst of purple energy, as dark magic spreads from his feet, casting a glowing grid across the entire overlook. This whole area is now covered in his detection field, ready to pick up any recent traces, and with his eyes glowing, Makoto confirms that someone was definitely here not long ago. His power reveals the shadow of a single person, though he cannot make out the identity just yet. Reaching out, he explains he can analyze the shadow's unique characteristics for a match, and the shadow then morphs into the distinct silhouette of Himuro Yusei himself. That very image is reflected perfectly in Aoji's wide, stunned eye, who grimly accepts the truth, confirming his former master did indeed return here. His thoughts drift to wondering what on earth Yusei could have been thinking, which triggers a flashback to a younger Aoji asking his master why they always visit this spot. Yusei just casually explains that this is his personal spot for taking a much-needed break, saying that looking over the city helps him feel free and shake off any lingering doubts. He then gives his student a friendly smack, telling him to avoid a boring life too. Oh, the irony. Aoji's still stuck on his master's words about not living a boring, bound life, talk about a bad life coach. And he clenches his fist, admitting he learned so much from the guy who is now a mass-murdering psycho. But he quickly snaps out of it when Makoto checks on him, getting right back to business. Because our boy confirms he's got a lock on Yusei's current location, ready to move out immediately. This trio leaves the scenic overlook, with Aoji once again taking the very reluctant lead, though he is still trying to figure out his old master's endgame, wondering what the hell his goal is. Meanwhile, back at Hunter Association HQ, things are about to get real hectic. Where inside the gate management department, a lone operator is monitoring a wall of screens. A sharp-looking researcher with glasses suddenly gets a very bad feeling about something. Her eyes go wide as she puts two and two together, realizing a huge detail she overlooked, and she immediately starts screaming at her coworker to get her on the emergency broadcast system like yesterday. With her headset on, she is ready to drop a bombshell on the entire Hunter Association. As an official announcement from her department starts blaring over the comms, she warns everyone there is a high risk of a gate break, ordering all hunters to start searching now. Back in the forest, our team is already sprinting towards their target at full speed. This three of them finally looking something like a coordinated, if very dysfunctional team. Their mission gets interrupted by a sudden, urgent alert ringing on a phone. It is an emergency broadcast from HQ, stopping them dead in their tracks. This message warns of a new gate at unknown coordinates that needs an immediate investigation, which leaves Makoto completely baffled because a gate should not be in its breaking stage this fast. Kazin reads the alert saying they have to find this new gate before it breaks, but Makoto's still focused on Yusei's trail. In a flash of insight, Aoji's eyes widen as he suddenly connects all the dots. Remembering Yugo once told him about a nervous habit people use to hide their true intentions, Makoto has the same horrifying realization, his face dropping as he figures out Yusei's endgame. Aoji grabs him, confirming a gate break is the goal, and orders Makoto to lead them there immediately. Our boy just snaps to attention, all hesitation gone, ready to guide the team. With his eyes glowing, Makoto's shadow sense locks onto a target, that same abandoned school from before. He points them forward, yelling that Yusei's shadow is heading straight for the building. Aoji just grimly confirms that his former master is definitely over there, preparing for the worst. They arrive to find a massive pillar of purple energy blasting out of the school. Subtlety is not on the menu today. This whole team stops dead, completely stunned by the sheer scale of the dark magic pouring into the sky. This swirling vortex of pure evil just continues to grow, twisting into something truly monstrous. Makoto is just staring, trying to comprehend the insane phenomenon happening right in front of him. Kazin is equally horrified, knowing this is a sight she is absolutely never going to forget. This scene triggers a traumatic flashback for her, remembering a past attack and a fallen comrade. It is a brutal memory of helplessness as a monster loomed over her and her friends. But back in the present, Makoto channels his own dark power, ready to fight back this time. Kazin shakes off the memory, her own spirit energy flaring to life around her. Standing side by side, Makoto declares they have to stop whatever's happening, no matter what. And right on cue, a massive explosion erupts from the school, kicking things off with a bang. From the school, a whole damn army of monsters starts pouring out to greet them. Makoto immediately takes charge, yelling that they have to stop this invasion at all costs, while Kazin slices through a beast, telling them to just hold the line until reinforcements show up. Aoji, of course, just stares down a couple of werewolves, looking terminally unimpressed with the situation. His hand glows with ice as he basically tells them to get lost or become a permanent fixture. And just like that, a massive ice wave flash freezes the entire front line of monsters. Makoto can only watch from above, still completely floored by this guy's casual power. Standing on his brand new monstercycle, Aoji reminds everyone he is playing a different game entirely. Our boy gets sent flying by a stray attack, barely managing to block with his shadow magic, which earns him a seriously annoyed look from Kazin, who complains he is acting on his own again. She's got her own problems anyway, locked in a deadly dance with a giant winged demon. This monster horde is just a sea of glowing red eyes and very, very sharp teeth, and Makoto is already panting for breath, admitting he is about to hit his power limit. Then a massive fireball streaks across the battlefield, incinerating a whole row of enemies. This fiery blast clears a path, revealing that the cavalry has finally arrived. A whole squad of hunters shows up, announcing they are here to join the fight. Makoto is just stunned by the sheer number of allies who have come to back them up. Inspired by the backup, he declares he has to pull his own weight and dive ease back in. But two of the new guys notice something odd. Makoto has zero mana, outing him as a wannabe. He realizes if he keeps fighting his secrets out, but the monsters are not waiting for him to have an identity crisis. Just as Makoto's in a bind, Kazin unleashes a massive green tornado, shredding through monsters. And she screams his name, having carved a path for him right through the chaos. With her glowing spear ready, she tells him to leave this mob to her and go find Aoji. So our boy gives a quick thanks, all set to make a break for the school building. Inside, he is immediately ambushed by a giant snake, barely fending it off with his shadow powers, and he sprints down the hall, figuring the gate has to be deeper inside the building. Suddenly, a massive wave of ice shatters something just ahead of him, and there is Aoji standing over the frozen, shattered corpse of the gate boss. So much for a team effort. Makoto is just stunned, realizing the ranker already soloed the main event, but Aoji just grimly states the obvious: Yusei is long gone. He stares out at the moon, declaring this whole thing pointless since Yusei will just do it again. As the guy's completely given up, convinced his old master will just keep causing chaos somewhere else. Makoto, however, is not having any of this doom and gloom, flatly telling him he is wrong. This pisses Aoji right off, who grabs him and demands to know what a wannabe could possibly know. With his eyes glowing, Makoto reminds him that his wannabe powers are the reason they are even here. Aoji is taken aback as Makoto insists it is way too early to just give up. pointing out that with the boss dead, his shadow sense can now lock onto Yusei's trail. Our boy grabs Aoji's arm, yelling that they have to move asterisk now before the trail goes cold. And without waiting for an answer, Makoto just starts running, pulling the rancor with him. For the first time, Aoji looks genuinely surprised, letting the kid lead the way. Aoji actually apologizes, grabbing Makoto's hand in a rare show of something resembling humanity. And he even thanks Makoto by his first name, Asuka, finally treating him like a partner. But our boy just grins, telling him to save the thank yous for after they have won. For the first time, Aoji cracks a genuine, non-sarcastic smile. Character development is a go. With their new fragile truce established, they sprint down Makoto's shadow path, dead set on ending this. Their trail leads them to a sterile, modern building under the moonlight. The target is confirmed. Makoto points it out, realizing with dawning horror that Yusei is gunning for the association's main system. And he spells it out: if that system goes down, gate management across the country goes completely haywire. Inside, they find the door busted open and the hallway covered in jagged ice crystals, proving Yusei has already been through here, leaving his signature cold calling card. This whole corridor is a frozen gallery of horrors, with security guards and staff flash frozen in place. Makoto is horrified by the carnage, while Aoji grimly states the obvious: they are too late. But then Aoji spots someone he knows and bolts forward, screaming the name Yusugi. It is another victim, a man in a suit encased in a tomb of ice. This entire floor is a chilling testament to Yusei's power and his absolute lack of mercy. At the end of the hall stands Yusei himself, facing the glowing core of the gate management system. He has planted a beeping bomb right at its base, ready to bring the whole Hunter Association to its knees. Aoji immediately launches a massive wave of ice spears straight at his former master, whose only reaction is a bored glance back as if swatting a fly, and with a flick of his wrist, Yusei summons an even bigger ice wall, effortlessly blocking the rank attack. Aoji is absolutely furious, screaming his old master's name while powering up his ice magic. While Yusei just stands there, smugly monologuing that his evil plan is going great, and with a truly punchable grin, he tells his former student to stay out of his way. These two ice masters are now locked in a standoff across the massive, frozen server room. Just then, Makoto bursts in, still screaming for the frozen guard he saw earlier. But Aoji ignores him, delivering a classic hero line about how Yusei's crimes end right here. Yusei's response is a casual finger gun because he is just that level of insufferable, and to prove it, he summons a gigantic ice crystal to drop right on Aoji's head. Makoto can only watch in horror, having arrived just in time for the party to get lethal. His old master then tells Aoji they should not be disturbed, which is code for get rid of the kid. In a flash, Makoto is trapped in an ice prison, completely taken out of the fight before it even starts. This villain turns back to Aoji, taunting him about whether he has the guts to actually kill his old teacher. But Aoji is done playing games, his face pure stone as he says he cannot be lenient anymore, which only makes Yusei smirk, noting his student has not changed one bit, still so predictable. Then the guy summons his own high-rank divine spirit, basically daring Aoji to match his power level. Not to be outdone, Aoji calls forth his own little ice spirit, ready for a proper magic duel. As Yusei lays out the terms, holding up the bomb's detonator: win the fight, destroy the device. A cold realization hits Aoji: stalling for backup is not an option, it is a death sentence. With his spirit at his side, he prepares a massive barrage of ice spears for an all-out assault, his eyes narrowing with grim resolve, knowing he has to end this right here and now. Aoji unleashes a storm of ice spears, going all in against his old master. While Yusei just stands there, condescendingly admitting his student has improved a little. But then he counters with an even bigger, more ridiculous wave of ice magic, because of course he does. This gets a well-deserved oh crap look from Aoji, who clearly did not expect that level of overkill, and their two attacks are on a collision course, a blizzard of pointy death about to meet midair, where Yusei's ice just completely demolishes Aoji's, proving there are levels to this game. Aoji quickly realizes that a head-on power contest is a fantastic way to die, so he switches tactics, summoning a pair of ice swords for some up-close and personal negotiation. Yusei smirks, pulling the ultimate evil teacher card. Who do you think taught you that? This guy is just reveling in this, taunting Aoji about how he created the very style he is using now. With a grimace, Aoji winds up, not for a swing, but to throw one of his swords. And he actually yeets the ice blade straight at Yusei, a pretty unorthodox move. This catches Yusei off guard, who cannot believe his student just threw his weapon away, thinking Aoji's an idiot for giving up his dual-wielding advantage, completely missing the point. Meanwhile, Aoji is already closing in, his plan hinging on Yusei being distracted by the projectile. And the old master turns his head to track the flying sword, taking the bait, hook, line, and sinker. In that split second, Aoji is on him, swinging his remaining sword for a decisive strike. But Yusei's eyes widen in shock. Aoji instantly regenerated the thrown sword. It was all a feint. Their ice blades clash in a blur of motion, student finally forcing the master to get serious, and Yusei barely blocks the attack, looking more annoyed than hurt, but Aoji's gambit definitely worked. Aoji's gambit works, and his twin blades crash right into Yusei's desperate block. And for a split second, Yusei looks almost impressed, admitting the move was faster than his own regeneration. This old master grins like a psycho, actually praising Aoji for finally showing some real fight. But Aoji just stares him down, declaring he is not the same weak student Yusei once knew. A flicker of hope in his eyes, he thinks he has actually got a shot at winning this. which is Yusei's cue to stop messing around and unveil a brand new skill. Meanwhile, a massive dark object starts hammering away at the ice prison from the inside. It is Makoto who has summoned a giant shadow hammer to smash his way out of containment. Back in the main event, Yusei is calmly growing a new ice construct right from the floor, and this thing rapidly forms into a full-blown, jagged ice golem ready for action. And of course, his new skill is just making an ice clone of himself, because one smug villain was not enough. Aoji is not impressed, dismissing the clone as just a weak doll he can easily break, which are famous last words because that doll immediately blitzes him with terrifying speed. He is instantly locked in a duel with the clone, which seems to be just as strong as the original, and this ice copy is no joke, forcing Aoji to dodge a flurry of razor-sharp attacks. Yusei helpfully explains his clone fights at his level but cannot use skills, a small comfort, I guess. Aoji is absolutely seething, realizing just how much power Yusei poured into this doll. This two Yusei stand together, taunting Aoji that it is now a 2v1 and his little friend is out of commission. And hearing this, Makoto gets even more desperate, knowing he has to break out and help now asterisk. All while the bomb just sits there, a friendly reminder that they are fighting on a very tight schedule. Aoji and the ice clone are locked in a high-speed duel, their blades a flurry of blue energy. But the clone is clearly overpowering him, their swords grinding together as Aoji struggles to hold on. And just as he is distracted, the real Yusei pops up behind him for a classic villain backstab so original, which sends Aoji flying across the server room, completely blindsided by the cheap shot. Before he can even recover, the clone and its spirit unleash a massive barrage of ice shards. And the whole area erupts in a storm of ice as Aoji gets absolutely buried under the assault. Yusei just watches with a smug grin, commenting on how lively his student is, what a charming mentor. While on his knees and bleeding, Aoji cannot believe the sheer, crushing gap in their power, and he just grits his teeth, asking the one question that never gets a good answer. Why? Aoji demands to know why someone so powerful would choose to be a complete monster. But Yusei's response is a calm, chilling denial. He does not see himself as evil at all, claiming he is just being honest, unlike his student who apparently has not changed a bit. Then comes the villain monologue. He believes the best hunters should ignore all rules to get results, and he basically says he got fired for being too good at his job, so clearly the system is wrong, not him. Aoji, through the pain, points out the obvious flaw in that logic, the whole murdering people thing. But Yusei just dismisses his victims as association dogs, comparing killing them to putting down an animal. This twisted logic leaves Aoji clutching his wound, completely floored by the absolute lack of humanity. While meanwhile Makoto is still furiously trying to hammer his way out of that ice prison. Yusei lays out his endgame: with the system down and a gate break, the entire association will collapse. And with a face of pure manic glee, he screams that this is his revenge meant to free all hunters. Aoji is having absolutely none of Yusei's twisted logic, screaming that it is all just bullshit, and he tightens his grip on his ice sword, saying his master has changed and not for the better. Facing down both Yusei and the ice clone, he swears he will not let this twisted plan succeed, and with a face of pure resolve, he declares that as his former student, he is the one who has to stop him. Yusei's response is pure condescension, basically telling Aoji to keep barking. He is not listening, because while Aoji was giving his big hero speech, Yusei was already trapping his feet in ice. A look of pure shock hits Aoji as he realizes he's been completely immobilized without even noticing, and for the first time he looks genuinely panicked, completely caught off guard by the trap. This ice clone raises its sword for the finishing blow, delivering a cold goodbye Aoji. And all Aoji can do is watch, the reflection of his own demise playing out in his eye. But just then a massive shadow hammer smashes down, completely obliterating the ice clone, which gets a genuinely surprised look from Yusei, who clearly was not expecting a party crasher. This shadow hammer slams into the floor, and standing behind it is Makoto, finally out of his ice box. Our boy stands there, hammer at the ready, telling Yusei to stop with all the nonsense. And he is absolutely furious, calling out the villain by his full name. He is done playing games. With another swing, the shadow hammer shatters the ice trap around Aoji's feet, setting him free, and Aoji looks over at his partner, stunned by the save, once again calling him by his first name, Asuka. Makoto just flashes a confident thumbs up, telling him it is okay because he knows how to break his ice. And it dawns on Aoji, Makoto was hammering away at that prison the entire time just to come help him. For the second time ever, Aoji cracks a small, genuine smile, finally seeing him as a real partner. Yusei looms over them, mockingly asking if Makoto really thinks he knows how to break his ice. And with his brand new ice clone at his side, he just calls our boy trash, real classy dude. But now it is a team effort as Makoto and Aoji stand back to back, ready for a 2v2. For the first time, Yusei looks genuinely annoyed, realizing Aoji alone was already a problem. So Makoto decides to take the initiative, charging straight at the ice clone to even the odds. This leaves Aoji free to engage the real Yusei, their ice swords clashing in a flash of light. And with his partner covering him, Aoji declares he's the one who is going to take his old master down. That threat actually lands because Yusei is visibly pissed, gritting his teeth in fury. He immediately orders his alter ego to stop messing around and just kill Makoto already. This clone and Makoto are instantly locked in a high-speed blur of shadow versus ice, and Makoto notes the clone is definitely strong, but he is already seeing a weakness. We get a quick flash of his inner demon looking absolutely thrilled to be let out to play, as our boy calmly confirms his plan, ready to show this ice doll what real power looks like. Aoji meanwhile is watching from his own fight, worried that Makoto is outmatched, which Yusei uses as an opening to pin him down, taunting him about his friend's imminent death. He is so smug, insisting there is no way that Brat can possibly defeat his perfect clone. Just as the clone dives in for the kill, Makoto prepares a massive counter from below. His shadow scythe swings up, completely shattering the ice clone's body in one clean hit. Yusei's face is a perfect picture of disbelief, unable to process his clone getting wrecked, and even Aoji is stunned watching his partner dismantle that impossible threat with ease. Makoto stands over the shattered clone, his shadow scythe casually resting on his shoulder, Ice Boy who. He then tells Yusei his little ice doll is nothing compared to the actual demon he has got on contract, which makes Aoji's eyes go wide, finally understanding where his partner's insane power comes from. Yusei points an accusatory finger, having a eureka moment that Makoto made a deal with a demon. Our boy just shrugs it off with a so what, before offering the villain some free advice. This old master tries his hand at manipulation, asking if he can really live as a hunter with that secret, and for a split second that question actually seems to get under Makoto's skin. Yusei immediately launches into his villain recruitment pitch, offering to change the world together, so original. Makoto just looks down in silence, letting Aoji sweat for a moment, which is just hilarious. But then he points his scythe right back, declaring Yusei is the real evil that needs to be put down. That rejection clearly hits a nerve because Yusei is absolutely radiating with pissed off energy. He coldly asks if the brats are really that eager to die, which I guess means negotiations are over. With a stomp of his foot, he unleashes a massive shockwave of ice across the entire floor, forcing both Aoji and Makoto to leap into the air to avoid the sudden, room-wide attack. Yusei is instantly on Makoto, but our boy's arm is bound by some kind of shadow chain, a side effect of his power, and Aoji realizes with horror that Makoto has not even unleashed his full strength yet. Just in time, Aoji intercepts the attack, his ice swords clashing with Yusei's in a huge burst of light. This turns into a chaotic three-way mid-air brawl, with Aoji desperately shielding Makoto from the master's assault, and he is barely holding on, gritting his teeth as he takes the full force of Yusei's attack head-on. The sheer power of the impact sends Makoto flying backwards, coughing from the shockwave alone. Makoto's struggling, realizing the real Yusei is on a completely different level than the clone, and in a split second of desperation, a brand new strategy clicks into place. He unleashes a new skill, Shadow Search, sending dark tendrils across the battlefield. Suddenly, Yusei's every move leaves behind a ghostly purple afterimage tracking his exact path, and this gives Makoto a perfect read on his attack patterns, basically a cheat sheet for dodging. Our boy knows this is the key, but he is the only one who can see it, wishing he could share the vision. So his inner demon tells him how, letting him cast the skill directly onto Aoji's eyes. Aoji flinches as the shadow magic suddenly floods his senses, a jolt of unfamiliar power, and his eyes now glow with the same purple energy, seeing exactly what Makoto sees. Through his partner's vision, he can now perfectly predict Yusei's movements. The game has changed. With this newfound future sight, Aoji easily ducks under a slash that would have taken his head off, and Yusei is still pressing the attack, completely unaware he has become an open book. This lets Aoji weave through his master's strikes like he has been doing it for years, turning the fight into a coordinated assault that finally has Yusei on the back foot. This old master is genuinely confused, wondering how his student is suddenly reading his mind. But even with the advantage, Aoji is still struggling against Yusei's raw power, barely blocking a heavy blow. Getting predictable was clearly not in the plan, so Yusei starts gathering a massive amount of energy. He tells the brats not to get carried away because he is about to stop holding back. Aoji immediately recognizes the stance. Yusei's going for a huge brute force finisher to end this, and with a classic villain grin, he announces he is wiping them out with his ultimate move. But Aoji and Makoto are not just gonna stand there and let him power up, screaming they will not allow it. Yusei just stomps his foot, unleashing his ultimate skill with a massive surge of power. And he summons a freaking ice dragon because of course he does, what a show-off. Aoji immediately counters with his own spirit, preparing to meet the attack head-on. Their two ultimate attacks are on a collision course, a blinding flash of energy building between them. Yusei's dragon roars as it pushes forward with overwhelming force, ready to devour everything. And the beam slams right into our heroes, erupting in a massive explosion of ice and light. This entire server room is just completely engulfed in the aftermath of the clash. And when the dust finally settles, Yusei is the only one left standing in the haze. He's got this smug look on his face, thinking the fight is finally over. You love to see it. But a shadow blade suddenly appears right at his feet. Talk about bad timing for him. Because thanks to that shadow search skill, Makoto knew exactly where Yusei would be standing. He and Aoji pop up on either side of the villain for a perfectly coordinated pincer attack. Yusei is completely blindsided, having no idea how they got behind him so fast, and they both drive their blades straight through him in a brutal, synchronized strike. This blow is devastating, even shattering some kind of device on his belt in the process, and the old master just coughs up blood, finally brought down by his own student. In a surprisingly gentle move, Aoji actually catches his former master as he falls forward, leaving them standing in a pool of his blood on the shattered ice floor. Then we get a flashback to better times, with Yusei admitting he once admired Aoji's spirit. Aoji tells his dying master that he simply chose the wrong path, a final, cold judgment, and with a heavy heart he declares this is the end for his former mentor. Makoto watches this tragic scene unfold, thinking about how everyone makes mistakes eventually, because even a legendary hunter like Yusei was not immune to falling from grace. But our boy clenches his fist, his own dark power swirling around him as he reflects. He reaffirms his own path with his winged partner, deciding he will not end up like Yusei. This scene then cuts to the aftermath, the battle finally over outside the facility under a full moon. And a news report on a phone confirms the incident at the Gatebreak Center is now public. Aoji explains the Hunters Association is on its way to collect their new high-profile prisoner, while Yusei sits there defeated, gagged with his own ice, admitting he could not have won alone. Yeah, no kidding. Makoto tells Aoji that without his help, the fight would have ended very differently, which earns him some real respect, with Aoji thanking him by his first name, Asuka. Our boy is just thrilled to be thanked twice, and they share a handshake like actual teammates for once. With the situation seemingly resolved, everything appears to be wrapping up neatly outside. This association's agents arrive on schedule, hauling the defeated Yusei away like last week's trash, and after a formal salute, our heroes look ready to finally call it a day. Makoto even suggests they head back, looking pretty beat up but satisfied with the win. But just as they are leaving, one of the agents suddenly grabs him from behind. Plot twist. He is completely caught off guard as a woman restrains him, calling him by his full name, and then the other shoe drops. He is officially under suspicion for being contracted to a demon. A new Suten glasses guy tells Makoto he is coming with them, and it is absolutely not a request. This scene then cuts to the massive, imposing Hunters Association headquarters the next day, where our boy is already in glowing magic handcuffs. So much for a hero's welcome. He gets escorted down a sterile hallway by two agents looking every bit the high-profile criminal, and when he asks where they are headed, the agent says it is to decide what to do for him. Makoto knew this was inevitable, realizing that showing off his demon powers was never going to end quietly. His escort gestures to the door, telling him to mind his manners, which is just rich. And Makoto walks in, still bandaged up but with a look of pure, unshakable defiance. Inside is a whole council of association bigwigs, all seated around a holographic table to judge him, which includes the chairman himself, Amagi, who gives a casual wave like this is just a normal Tuesday. This rest of the panel is a real rogues gallery, including a guy who looks like he just left the circus. With Makoto standing before them, the conference to discuss this abnormal situation officially begins. Their high-tech table immediately lights up, replaying footage of his fight against Yusei for all to see. This main topic is then laid bare: Asuka Makoto's direct involvement with a demon. Division Chief Renji, the guy who arrested him, states they will be evaluating his case to determine a course of action. His glasses reflect our boy as he is called out by his full name, the tension getting thick. Renji then asks the million-dollar question: is it true he has a contract with a demon? Makoto knows they have already got their answer and that lying at this point is completely useless, so he just owns it, confirming it is true before calling his partner out by name to join the party. And just like that, Renoa appears in all her winged glory, ready to face the music right beside him. This council is completely floored by the sight of a humanoid demon, because apparently that is a big deal. And one of the S-ranks, a guy named Tsubasa, immediately loses his mind, recognizing her as a high-tier Magin. This hothead points a glowing finger, threatening to just erase Renoa on the spot for daring to exist. So Makoto instantly pulls her back, yelling her name as he shields her from the incoming attack. Tsubasa does not hesitate for a second, unleashing a full-power energy beam right at them. But a golden portal suddenly materializes out of nowhere, completely absorbing the blast. Another council member, a calm blonde dude, casually tells Tsubasa he's being a little hasty, and he smirks, reminding the angry guy that the meeting has literally just started, so maybe chill out. Tsubasa is having none of it, arguing a discussion is pointless and threatening to erase him next. This chairman finally steps in, telling everyone to settle down and ordering Makoto to explain himself. So our boy clarifies that Renoa is not just some random demon but a fallen divine spirit. This news sends a shockwave through the room since none of them have ever heard of such a thing. This blonde guy, however, seems to have an idea, recalling a vision of his own spirit partner. He then summons his divine spirit Nova, asking her to provide some expert testimony on the matter. And she confirms it, explaining there are rumors in the divine world of an angel who fell from grace. With his point proven, the blonde guy smugly thanks his spirit for backing him up so perfectly. He then asks the rest of the council if there is really anything left to discuss, looking way too pleased. Tsubasa, ever the party pooper, insists it does not matter since their job is to kill all demons, period. Then the guy in the lab coat takes over, demanding to know the specifics of how she became a demon. Makoto and Renoa just stand there together, bracing for the next round of interrogation. Renoa gives the world's least helpful answer, admitting she is a demon but refusing to explain anything else. This, of course, sends Tsubasa into a table-slamming rage. Patience is clearly not his virtue. He is absolutely not buying it, arguing any demon contractor is a massive security risk to humanity. Makoto immediately jumps to her defense, insisting that Renoa is one of the good ones, trust him. But the guy in the lab coat is not convinced, asking for a guarantee our boy absolutely cannot provide. This kid is completely stumped, stammering as he realizes he has got nothing to back up his claim. Internally, he is panicking, trying to figure out how to talk his way out of this mess with the council. At this rate, he knows they are both totally screwed and the sweat starts to drip. Just then, the meeting is interrupted by the sound of someone else arriving fashionably late. A pink-haired woman waltzes in, offering a very casual apology for her tardiness to the interrogation. Her excuse is legendary, claiming she overslept because her bed was just too darn comfortable. This lab coat guy scolds the newcomer, Heimji, reminding her that even S-ranks need to be on time. She just tells him to take it up with the bed before asking what all the fuss is about. So the blonde S-rank points out Makoto, explaining the whole contract with a demon situation. Heimji then completely changes the subject, asking who the two people are waiting outside the door. This question throws everyone for a loop, with the council looking totally confused by the non sequitur. But the blonde hunter just smirks, seeing this as the perfect opportunity he was waiting for. He promptly invites the two mystery guests to come on in and the doors slide open. In walk a serious-looking dude in a blue uniform and a green-haired woman ready for a fight. This rest of the council, especially Tsubasa, just stares as the room gets even more crowded with powerful people. Makoto is completely stunned, recognizing the two newcomers as Kazin and Yusugi. This blonde S-rank immediately calls out the chairman for letting outsiders in, but Amagi plays it cool. For a tense moment, the old man just stays silent, letting the drama marinate. He then confirms they are deeply involved and will be allowed to speak. What a benevolent ruler. So Yusugi and Kazin step up to stand with Makoto and Renoa, forming an impromptu defense squad. Our boy starts to panic, realizing his friends are about to get dragged down right along with him. Yusugi speaks first, stating for the record he could not have stopped Yusei without their help. He even clenches his fist, driving home the point that they were absolutely essential. Kazin then adds her testimony, arguing Renoa helped them fight another Magin, which a bad demon would not do. She formally begs the council to take their words into consideration, looking dead serious. This whole group then bows their heads, pleading with the council to just believe them for once. Makoto is just floored, watching his friends put their own necks on the line for him. Even the lab coat guy has to admit that for a known demon hater like Kazin, this is a huge deal. This blonde S-rank agrees this is all the proof they need, even if the future is a bit of a gamble. Then he goes full galaxy brain, suggesting Makoto and Renoa might have the potential to save the world. Tsubasa, ever the party pooper, scoffs that they are more likely to betray everyone, but the blonde dude puts his money where his mouth is, offering to take full responsibility if they go rogue. This bold declaration leaves Tsubasa fuming and Makoto completely shocked by the sudden support. Smirking, the blonde S-rank insists that while killing them is an option, he'd rather bet on their potential. Meanwhile, Makoto's magic handcuffs just glow a little brighter, a fun reminder that he is still a prisoner. Makoto steels himself, determined not to let his friend's support go to waste. With the testimonies heard, the chairman's hand rests as he prepares to make the final call. Amagi then puts it to a vote, asking who on the council wants to see Makoto punished. Tsubasa's hand shoots up instantly, shocking absolutely no one in the room. Following his lead, the lab coat guy also votes for disciplinary action, looking smug about it. Meanwhile, the blonde S-rank and Heimji just watch the proceedings with a shared smirk, clearly unbothered. Heimji even calls the whole display a beautiful friendship, much to Tsubasa's chibi-faced rage. After telling her to shut it, the lab coat guy demands the chairman's final verdict. This old man just sits there, arms crossed, contemplating the fate of the world and one very problematic teenager. A steely glint in his eye shows he has finally reached a conclusion. Makoto's whole crew just watches in suspense, bracing for the worst. But before he gives his answer, Amagi holds up a hand to pause the proceedings. He wants to hear directly from the accused what their intentions are first. His question is aimed right at Renoa. Why did she, a demon, make a contract with a human? Without flinching, she prepares to give her side of the story. Renoa takes a single, confident step forward to address the council. This reason she gives is simple: she just wanted to help Makoto when he was in pain. Then comes the bombshell. She declares that demons are her enemies too and she will fight them with him. Amagi turns his gaze to our boy, asking if he has anything to add to that. Together, Makoto and Renoa stand united, their fates now hanging in the balance. Makoto finally speaks, laying out his one simple motivation for all this. He flashes back to a painful memory, saying he never wants to let anyone die again, especially not when they are losing their lives so unfairly to monsters. With his magic handcuffs still glowing, he promises to give his all to fight the demons. Then he makes his big ask, for the chairman to use him and Renoa for the good of the world. Heimji and the blonde S-rank watch with amusement, totally here for this dramatic turn of events. After a long, tense pause, the chairman announces that he has reached his decision. This verdict is in. They will be overseered by the association under specific conditions. Makoto and Renoa are completely floored, since probation is way better than immediate execution. This news gets a mixed reception from the council, ranging from smug smirks to utter shock. Even Yusugi and Kazin cannot believe their little intervention actually worked. Tsubasa, on the other hand, is absolutely losing it, demanding to know if the old man is serious. His fist is clenched so hard you can almost hear his knuckles screaming for mercy. This hothead refuses to accept the verdict without a good reason, basically challenging the chairman's authority. Amagi just stares him down, completely unbothered by the temper tantrum. He explains that the loyalty Makoto's friends showed already proves their value to the association. On top of that, the old man says he looked into our boy's eyes and saw no lies. He He assures Tsubasa he has not gone soft. This is a calculated risk, not a sentimental whim. Tsubasa just grits his teeth, absolutely fuming that he has been so thoroughly shut down. He finally backs off, and the lab coat guy immediately asks what these conditions are. Amagi lays out the first condition, explaining that some demons can in fact be communicated with. Their new job is basically to provide intel and build a solid track record of killing other demons. He tells them to win the council's trust with their actions, no pressure or anything. Makoto, looking like he just dodged a nuke, immediately agrees to the terms without hesitation. This whole squad bows deeply in gratitude, with Makoto's cuff still glowing as a fun little reminder of his status. With the verdict settled, the chairman immediately demands they start talking and spill everything they know. Makoto then has to awkwardly ask Kazin and Yusugi to leave, since this debrief is above their pay grade. This old man admits that the association's current information on the demon threat is severely lacking. First on the list, he wants to know everything about the Magins, their powers, numbers, the whole deal. So Makoto and Renoa stand before the council, ready to deliver their very first intelligence report. Renoa drops the first bombshell. There are around 100 Magins and they have a social structure just like hunters. Our boy is absolutely horrified, realizing they have only seen the tiniest fraction of the enemy's forces. This blonde S-rank chimes in that dozens of them are probably as strong as or even stronger than the one they just fought. Heimji freaks out, but the blonde dude just flexes. Sure, the S-ranks can handle it, gotta love that ego. On top of that, Renoa reveals there is a being leading them all, a demon king, but she does not know the details. Amagi strokes his beard, recognizing this as a crucial piece of the puzzle they have been missing. This lab coat guy immediately demands to know her source, and Renoa begins to explain her past. After falling, she was taken to the demon's base and invited to join them, which looks a lot like a kidnapping. She remembers being completely overwhelmed by their sheer numbers, a single tear marking the painful memory. Despite being brainwashed, she managed to escape at the last second, gaining all this intel firsthand. Amagi cuts to the chase, demanding to know the demon's ultimate goal for invading their world. Renoa explains that on a basic level, demons just need food and sleep like everyone else. But their primary instinct is way less chill. It is all about invasion and total domination. This lab coat guy grimly notes that if it is just instinct, there is absolutely nothing they can do to stop it. Makoto adds that Magins are different, possessing intelligence and reason on top of those killer instincts. This means their king probably has a much more specific, sinister goal in mind. Tsubasa actually looks like he is thinking for once, processing this new strategic angle. Unfortunately, Renoa admits she does not know the Demon King's exact plans, just that they exist. Tsubasa immediately goes full supervillain, cackling about how he will destroy all the king's plots. Heimji, meanwhile, just thinks the whole situation sounds interesting, because of course she does. This blonde S-rank agrees, saying a fight against a thinking enemy is way more fun than mindless slaughter. Makoto thanks them for the intel, understanding they will be on call for future debriefings. With the new information absorbed, Amagi clenches his fist, the gem on his glove glowing. He declares that their core mission has not changed one bit. This entire council is united on this front. They will continue to fight the demons. As a final condition, Amagi orders Makoto to be detained and monitored inside the association, just in case. This blonde S-rank adds that while it is for his safety, he should expect to become a pariah among hunters. Makoto just shrugs it off, saying he is already used to being treated like trash. His focus is now on building a solid reputation by racking up a high demon body count. But the blonde dude brings him back to Earth, reminding him he is still an F-rank with a long way to go. This lab coat guy is actually impressed, admitting to the chairman he did not expect this outcome. It turns out all that new demon intel just got the old man totally fired up for a fight. Towering over the duo, Amagi announces a special reevaluation that he will be conducting personally. Makoto is completely lost, having absolutely no idea what fresh hell this is. From the sidelines, the blonde S-rank knowingly calls this the chairman's bad habit, while Heimji offers her most useless apologies. Tsubasa is practically vibrating with joy, telling Makoto he is a dead man walking. With the meeting officially over, the chairman just snatches our boy and starts dragging him off. They arrive in a ridiculously huge empty training hall for this impromptu test. Amagi rolls up his sleeves, laying down the challenge, fight him and show his true strength. Makoto, still rocking his magic party bracelets, cannot believe he is supposed to fight the final boss right now. This chairman tells him not to worry, generously offering to hold back to a mere 10-20% of his power. And that small fraction immediately summons a colossal armored spirit and a massive glowing sword. Renoa and Makoto immediately feel the crushing pressure, realizing this old man's power is on another level entirely. And of course, the entire council is watching from the stands like it is a pay-per-view event. That blonde S-rank is just eating this up, eager to see if his bet on Makoto actually pays off. Amagi then lays out the simple, terrifying stakes for this little pop quiz. If our boy cannot land a single hit on him, his career as a hunter is over permanently. With the terms set, the chairman declares the fight has begun, his spirit looming behind him. Makoto is absolutely not ready for this, screaming that this has to be some kind of joke. But the old man is not joking in the slightest, immediately lunging forward with terrifying speed. Amagi confirms this is absolutely not a joke. He is dead serious about this test. Our boy's eyes go wide, the cold sweat dripping as he realizes this old man is about to end him. Without another word, the chairman swings his colossal golden axe in a terrifying arc. Makoto just barely gets his sword up to block, and the impact is absolutely explosive. He is sent flying, barely catching his breath and wondering how a single strike could be so heavy. Amagi casually reminds him of his big speech about delivering results for the association. Then he twists the knife, asking if all those promises were just a bunch of empty lies. Getting back to his feet, Makoto prepares himself, knowing he is completely outmatched. His hands are already numb, and this is supposed to be the old man going easy. What a joke. This chairman just goads him on, telling him to stop hesitating and come at him for real. Taking a shaky breath, Makoto tries to center himself for a counterattack. He decides it is time to show off some of his own tricks, tapping into his shadow abilities. Unleashing his shadow bind, he sends dark chains shooting out to wrap around the chairman. Amagi seems almost amused, acknowledging that the kid actually has a skill after all. Believing he has got him trapped, Makoto rushes in for the kill, sure his sword will land this time. He powers up his blade with dark energy, putting everything into this one desperate strike. And Amagi just catches the sword with his bare hand like it is absolutely nothing. This chairman looks down on him with total disappointment, calling his attack shallow. He warns Makoto that if he is not going to fight with everything he has, then he is just going to get tossed around like a ragdoll, which is exactly what happens next. Makoto gets absolutely slammed, screaming as he is thrown across the training hall floor. Amagi just smirks, taunting that our boy will never even manage to touch him. Down on the ground, Makoto can only curse as the chairman looms over him, axe at the ready. Effortlessly shattering the shadow chains, the old man demands to see what other tricks the kid's got. Our boy stares up in total disbelief, wondering if this guy is even human anymore. Meanwhile, in the stands, the blonde S-rank decides this is the perfect time for a drink. He proceeds to chug a bottle of sake like it is a sports drink because priorities. This whole peanut gallery agrees that watching a beatdown is better with alcohol, even reminiscing about their own past thrashings. Back in the arena, the two combatants face off across the massive, empty hall. Makoto knows he has to land just one hit, but he's got no clue how to even get close. Getting bored of waiting, Amagi announces it is his turn to go on the offensive. With a single step, he shatters the floor and launches himself forward with terrifying speed. Suddenly, he is right in Makoto's face, ready to bring the pain. His hands tighten around the glowing axe, the gem on his glove flaring with immense power. Then he unleashes a massive horizontal swing, forcing Makoto into a desperate block. Our boy's eyes go wide in terror as he realizes there is no way he can stop this attack. He just barely dodges the devastating arc of light that carves through the air. Landing shakily, Makoto looks like he has just seen a ghost, and he kinda has. From the sidelines, Tsubasa freaks out, but the blonde S-rank explains the swing was a test, deliberately easy to dodge. Amagi praises his quick reaction, telling him to keep that energy up for the next round of humiliation. Makoto desperately leaps and weaves through the chairman's relentless golden slashes. He is barely keeping up, realizing every single hit is impossibly heavy and fast. Amagi just taunts him, yelling that if he only dodges, he will never land that one crucial hit. With a glint in his eye, our boy decides it is time to stop playing pure defense. Using his shadows, he launches himself into the air to create some much-needed distance. Then he forms a brand new toy, a nasty-looking projectile he calls a shadow weapon. This chairman looks up, almost intrigued by this new development. Makoto fires it off, and the shadow blast explodes right at Amaga's feet. From the stands, Tsubasa is absolutely loving the show, calling it interesting, because of course he is. For a split second, Makoto actually thinks he might have landed the hit. But the smoke clears to reveal Amagi holding a giant golden shield, completely unfazed. Our boy is just baffled, asking when the hell he pulled out a shield. Amagi just smirks, offering to show him a little more of what he can do. In a flash of light, that massive shield morphs into an equally massive golden spear. Makoto's jaw just hits the floor. A shield, now a spear, what is this guy's deal? This old man explains his divine spirit is armory, letting him swap weapons whenever he feels like it. It dawns on Makoto that he is facing a guy with an infinite high-tier arsenal. Meanwhile, the blonde S-rank casually explains that Amaga's spirit is the god of weapons, Yulan. Tsubasa chimes in, confirming the chairman is the undisputed king of close-quarters combat. With his new spear in hand, Amagi announces that round 2 is officially on. Makoto realizes his ranged shadow attack is a terrible matchup against a spear user. This chairman correctly identifies Makoto's power as a materialization skill, similar to his own. Finding this interesting, Amagi charges forward, demanding to see how the kid handles his arsenal. With a powerful lunge, he unleashes a devastating spear thrust that rips across the hall. Our boy is stunned by the sheer power and insane reach of the attack. His eyes go wide, realizing he is completely out of his league here. Makoto barely dodges a relentless flurry of golden stabs from the chairman's spear. Then Amagi reveals his armory can also split into 2 homing blades just to be extra. This flying weapons corner Makoto, leaving him absolutely nowhere to run. Before he can react, the armory shifts again, this time into a colossal golden warhammer, which comes crashing down with enough force to shatter the entire training hall floor. Makoto desperately leaps back, narrowly avoiding being turned into a pancake. As he is still airborne, Amagi is already preparing his next ridiculously overpowered move. His glowing hand summons yet another weapon from his infinite bag of tricks, and now it is a giant golden bow because of course it is. Our boy is just a sitting duck in the air, staring down the barrel of this new problem. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery just sits back and enjoys the absolute curb stomping. This blonde S-rank even calls this a good lesson, which is a wild way to describe this beatdown. Makoto desperately deflects a storm of golden arrows with his shadow sword. Battered and bruised, he somehow manages to survive the onslaught, standing among the broken projectiles. After the arrow storm, Amaga's armory shifts again, this time into a massive golden greatsword. Renoa confirms what Makoto's just realized. He is finally seeing a pattern in the chairman's attacks. Up in the stands, Tsubasa notes that Amaga's power always gives him the perfect counterweapon. With a thunderous stomp, the old man decides he is done warming up for real this time. He launches himself forward like a missile, demanding to see what Makoto will do now. Seeing his opponent commit to a sword, our boy starts forming a shadow weapon of his own. Amagi immediately reads the situation, thinking a spear would be a much better choice against a swordsman. And just as he thinks it, his sword instantly morphs into a long golden spear because of course it does. But this was the exact moment Makoto was waiting for, unleashing a shadowy tendril with a shout. He zips right past the spear tip, aiming not for Amaga's body but for his necktie. For the first time in this fight, the chairman's eyes go wide with genuine shock. This shadow hand makes contact, grabbing the fabric in a death grip. With a sharp tug, Makoto yanks on the tie, pulling the old man off balance mid-attack. Tsubasa and Haimji are absolutely losing their minds in the stands, unable to believe what they are seeing. Amagi just stands there, his tie comically ripped. He has been hit, the condition has been met. This blonde S-rank explains that Makoto perfectly exploited the tiny time lag of the weapon change. Completely out of breath, Makoto pants, having put everything into that one perfect, insane gamble. He wipes his face, a look of pure exhausted relief washing over him. Even Amagi acknowledges the strategy, admitting a spear is useless at point-blank range. This chairman confirms it. Our boy aimed for that one tiny gap and landed a clean blow. Amagi gives him a crisp, well done, announcing the near-fatal beatdown is officially over. Our boy just stares, completely stunned that he actually survived the examination. Makoto immediately drops to his knees to thank the chairman, who is just laughing his head off. He is absolutely drenched in sweat, the sheer exhaustion finally hitting him all at once. It dawns on him that the whole thing was a brutal, hands-on lesson from a guy who did not hold back. Amagi gives him a patronizing little head pat, praising his movements and quick thinking. But then he immediately follows up by saying his actual mana control is still total garbage. As a consolation prize for not dying, the chairman just casually promotes him to B rank on the spot. Makoto is floored, having jumped from F rank to B rank in a single afternoon of getting wrecked. Fired up by the challenge, our boy shouts his acceptance, ready for what is next. Tsubasa then pops out of a portal, sake in hand, calling the whole thing a thorough evaluation. He then makes sure to remind Makoto he is still nowhere near his level because of course he does. Clenching his fist, Makoto knows he has got a mountain to climb to reach these monsters, so he turns to Tsubasa with a new, desperate plan forming in his mind. He straight up begs the pretty boy S-rank to train him, yelling that he needs to get stronger. With a deep bow, Makoto puts his pride aside and asks for his guidance. Tsubasa just smirks, revealing this was exactly what he was expecting to happen. He admits he was already planning on training Makoto anyway, pointing right at him. With a confident grin, he officially agrees, looking forward to seeing the kid surpass his expectations. And so the brutal test concludes with a new training arc set to begin at the Association HQ. After the beatdown, it is time for a debrief in a suspiciously minimalist room, Tsubasa still on the bottle. He suggests a special training method, the very same one he and his spirit Nova used way back when. This whole philosophy is that a deeper hunter-spirit bond unlocks way more efficient power usage. Makoto is immediately skeptical, asking if that is even possible for him and Renoa. Nova explains that since their contract stone exists, it is theoretically doable, even with her divine power being converted. Tsubasa clarifies the real problem. Renoa has a massive mana pool just sitting there. But their connection is so bad she cannot actually supply him with any of it properly. With a smug grin, he promises this training will fix everything and make our boy way stronger. All fired up, Makoto shouts his acceptance, ready for whatever insane trial comes next. Tsubasa then reveals the first step of this legendary S-rank training regimen, which is to hold hands with Renoa while conquering a dungeon, a truly revolutionary tactic. Makoto and Renoa just stare back, their brains completely rebooting from the sheer absurdity of the idea. And so, the next day they are unceremoniously dumped into an F-rank dungeon to begin. This two of them shuffle forward, awkwardly holding hands on what looks like the world's most dangerous first date. Renoa is so flustered by the whole situation that she immediately trips over absolutely nothing. He asks if she is embarrassed, and she pretty much confirms this is a new level of awkward for her. Makoto then relays the other rules from Tsubasa: never let go and no talking during fights. Their assignment is to clear dungeons from F rank all the way to C rank like this because of course it is. Suddenly, Renoa spots movement up ahead, pointing with her free hand. A horde of monsters swarms into view, ready to test the combat effectiveness of this forced handholding. Makoto decides to play it smart, thinking he should start by observing the monsters. But Renoa immediately ignores this, charging in to block a strike and ruining the plan. She is convinced they need to wipe these things out fast, no time for caution. Our boy is just flabbergasted, yelling that observation was supposed to be step one. Before they can even argue, a massive monster fist comes hurtling towards them. forcing the two into a chaotic battle against a swarm of demonic bats while still holding hands. One of the creatures dives right for Makoto's head, ready to take a chunk out of him. So he yanks Renoa by their connected hands, pulling her into a new position. This move barely gets them out of the way of another attack, their coordination a total disaster. They both admit that while dodging is easy, being stuck together is making them clumsy as hell. Trying a new tactic, Makoto materializes a shadow gun for some much-needed range support. He promptly blasts one of the bat things out of the sky with a point-blank shadow bullet. After clearing the initial wave, he hopefully asks if they are finally done with this. Renoa just points out they are now completely surrounded because they were not fast enough. Makoto cannot even argue, realizing their clunky teamwork just invited more trouble. And as if on cue, a massive werewolf claw comes swiping out of the new horde. With no time to bicker, they both agree to just focus on surviving the onslaught for now. 2 weeks of this nonsense later, they have somehow made it to a C-rank dungeon's boss room. They are used to the hand-holding combat, but still have not figured out how to sync their different fighting styles. And they both know that fighting a C-rank boss in their current state is a genuinely terrible idea. Makoto tries for a pep talk before the boss fight, but Renoa just promises to try, offering zero guarantees. She then drops some wisdom, saying it is not about matching each other's movements, but about truly understanding one another, a surprisingly deep thought for a dungeon crawl. Our boy completely agrees, having a rare moment of sync right before the chaos begins. With that settled, they step into the boss room, still holding hands like it is the world's worst date. A massive glowing blue eye snaps open from the shadows ahead, and it belongs to a C-rank legacy golem, a giant rock monster ready to absolutely end them. Makoto thinks this is a perfect opponent, which is a hilariously optimistic take on the situation. Before he can think, Renoa yanks him into the air, charging straight at the golem without warning. With no other choice, he summons a massive shadow axe, forced to go on the offensive. He brings the weapon down hard, smashing it right into the golem's rocky hide. But the hit barely leaves a scratch. This thing is built like an absolute fortress. Our boy immediately regrets underestimating a C-rank boss, a lesson he keeps needing to learn. As the golem swings back, Renoa has to drag him out of the way, their coordination a total mess. They are both panicking, realizing their fighting styles are clashing at the worst possible time. This golem launches a barrage of attacks, sending Makoto tumbling backwards. Renoa uses her wings to stabilize them midair, dodging spikes erupting from the floor. This contract stone on his hand glows as he admits their teamwork is completely failing them. Meanwhile, Renoa seems to have a plan, her eyes fixed on a very specific target. Makoto realizes she is aiming for something, but he is completely in the dark about her strategy. Renoa suddenly squeezes his hand, a silent signal that she is about to do something insane. She has got this look of pure unadulterated focus, like she has finally solved the puzzle. Makoto just looks back, caught off guard but seeing the absolute conviction in her eyes. He decides to put his faith in her, realizing she must have some kind of plan. With that, our boy plants his feet, committing to follow her lead no matter what happens. It is a moment of truth. They have to sync up if they are ever going to get stronger. Just in time too, because the golem throws a punch that could level a building, but Renoa is already moving, dragging him in a wild, graceful arc around the monster's attacks. She zips in and lands a devastating kick right into its chest, cracking the stone wide open. This golem stumbles back, the hit clearly doing some serious damage for the first time. And right there in the crater is its glowing blue core. The weak point is finally exposed. Makoto realizes he never would have seen it without trusting her reckless charge, a humbling thought. Renoa is ready to go for the kill, telling him they need to finish it right now. But then Makoto squeezes her hand, pulling back on the reins for a change. She is completely thrown, wondering why he is stopping them when they finally have an opening. Our boy just gives a little smirk because now it is his turn to have a plan. He tells her to trust him, flipping her own words right back at her with a confident look. As the golem charges a massive energy beam, Renoa sees the sheer determination in his eyes. Makoto explains his philosophy: when things get hairy, you stop and assess the risk first. And just like that, it clicks for Renoa. His cautious style is not a weakness, it is a strategy. And just like that, the golem's core is wide open, practically begging to be smashed. With the weak point revealed, the massive golem is finally on the defensive for once. Our boy gives Renoa a look that says "my turn," completely flipping the script on her. But the golem is not just gonna sit there and wait, launching another haymaker their way. Its fist obliterates the ground, a perfect demonstration of why Makoto's caution has its perks. Makoto tightens his grip, channeling his shadow magic into a brand new weapon. He then lunges forward, driving a newly formed shadow blade straight into the exposed core. This hit lands dead on, the core shining brightly as cracks spread across its surface. And right behind him, Renoa follows up with a colossal magic hammer, a perfect combo attack. For the first time, they are moving as one unit, a beautiful symphony of destruction. In that moment, Makoto admits to himself he'd have been totally wrecked without her. Renoa has the exact same thought. Her reckless style would have gotten her killed on her own. It all clicks into place for him, finally understanding how their powers are meant to work together. With their powers combined, he unleashes a massive vertical slash of pure shadow energy, which slices clean through the golem's core, splitting it right in two. This C-rank boss just crumbles, completely overwhelmed by their newfound teamwork. His contract stone flares with light, a sign that their bond has finally actually leveled up. Our boy is absolutely beaming, the adrenaline and victory hitting him all at once. He throws his hands up, yelling that they actually pulled it off, much to Renoa's surprise. Makoto goes for a victory high five, and Renoa just stares at his hand, completely clueless. The training is not over yet. He tries to explain what a high five is, but Renoa has literally no idea what he is doing. Makoto just sighs, realizing this is pretty much what he should have expected from her. This scene shifts to a quiet back alley where a shadow approaches a single lit doorway. Inside is a classy, well-stocked bar, the perfect place for a secret meeting. A blonde man in a white coat, who we will learn is a magi, is already getting wasted at the counter. A bell chimes as the door swings open, announcing a new customer has arrived. Amagi swirls his drink, complete with a fancy spherical ice cube, not even turning around. Without looking, he asks the newcomer how they managed to find this hidden spot. It is Makoto who casually reveals the chairman sold out Amagi's favorite drinking spot. Amagi just smirks, while our boy thanks him for some recent guidance that clearly paid off. With a new purple aura flaring, Amagi observes that Makoto is a completely different man now. He even admits the kid's growth has shot way past anything he could have predicted. Makoto is just glowing, finally getting some genuine praise for all his hard work. Their chat is cut short when the bartender announces he just got a deployment email from the association. He has been assigned to a B-rank dungeon, and Amagi confirms a lot of hunters are being called up. As he hands Makoto a drink, Amagi says this is the perfect stage to show off his new skills. He is completely confident that our boy is now strong enough to make a real impression. Makoto looks determined, ready to prove his mentor right and take on the challenge. With a grin, the two of them clink glasses in a toast to the upcoming mission. This story then flashes back to several hours earlier at the Hunter Association headquarters. At Hunter Association HQ, a briefing reveals a massive new gate has appeared, but it is supposedly just a normal dungeon. One of the suits immediately suggests a full hunter summons, looking to the chairman for the final call. This chairman agrees, ordering a selection process and asking for the dungeon's official rank. A researcher confirms their fears. The system has flagged it as a dangerous B-rank threat. Hearing this, the chairman seems to be weighing his options very carefully. He then announces he has a specific hunter in mind, someone he is sure will achieve great things. This rest of the room is completely caught off guard, wondering who could possibly fit the bill. And of course, the profile that pops up on screen is none other than our boy Makoto. This next day, the scene shifts to the outskirts of Kanto Prefecture, deep in a forest. Makoto shows up to the rendezvous point, finding a whole squad of hunters already waiting by the gate. He notes there are 10 of them in total, an unusually large party for a single dungeon run. But before he can even say hello, some hothead with red hair starts yelling, calling him out as the demon contractor. Another hunter backs him up, accusing Makoto of betraying everyone who has ever lost someone to demons. Our boy just takes it, his expression unreadable as the hostility builds around him. He internally admits their anger makes sense, deciding it is best to just let them vent for now. This trash talk escalates, with the red-haired guy calling him incompetent and a waste of space. Real team player, this one. Even Chibai Renoa is annoyed by the treatment, but Makoto just tells her they are here to do a job. Then another hunter powers up, suggesting they should just kill Makoto for the sake of the world. With zero hesitation, the guy launches a lightning whip attack right at him. But Makoto is ready, his own hand flaring with shadow magic to meet the strike head-on. But before the lightning whip can land, a massive wall of water erupts, blocking the attack completely. Our boy is just as shocked as anyone, caught totally off guard by the sudden save. Stepping in is a pink-haired hunter who lays down the law, reminding everyone that fighting each other is off-limits. This other hunters are stunned, one of them blurting out her name, Kadu. She offers a handshake to Makoto, making it clear the rule applies to her too, and he quickly agrees. With the drama settled, Kadu immediately takes command, telling them to move out while she assigns roles. Turns out she's not just an rank hunter but also a famous influencer, which explains the take-charge attitude. Makoto looks back, noticing a quiet hunter in a green coat watching him from the sidelines. This guy seems to recognize Makoto's name, his expression unreadable but definitely intense. A few minutes later, the whole squad steps into the B-rank dungeon. And they find themselves in a scorching hot, barren canyon that stretches as far as the eye can see. One of the guys is already complaining about the heat, but Makoto just keeps his cool, hood up. Kadu meanwhile steps right up to the edge of a cliff, completely unfazed by the conditions. This team gathers behind her, realizing they are facing a massive, seemingly bottomless chasm. She looks down into the abyss, trying to get a read on what they are up against. What they are up against is a literal sea of demons packed into the canyon floor, just waiting for a fight. Despite the insane numbers, Kadu steels herself, confident in her own judgment to get them through this. She asks the group for a water or earth user to create a bridge, aiming for a quick crossing. Makoto pulls up his hood, catching her eye as if to volunteer for the job. But she just assigns him lookout duty, telling him to watch the demon horde, babysitting duty basically. Kadu looks down, stating the obvious, yeah, getting mobbed by that many demons would be bad. She then turns to the group, ready to unveil her master strategy for this B-rank threat. And with a snap of her fingers, the brilliant plan is officially in motion, which apparently involves two other hunters grabbing Makoto from behind. Our boy is completely stunned, demanding to know what the hell is going on. Kadu just coldly explains they have decided to kill him and stage it as an accident. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. This grim reality hits Makoto. This is the price of being a demon contractor. Because as it turns out, every single hunter on this hand-picked squad absolutely despises demons and by extension him. With that, they shove him right off the cliff into the waiting horde below. Makoto can only grit his teeth in fury as he plummets toward certain death. His former teammates just watch, figuring they will check for the corpse later, so considerate. Kadu even offers a half-hearted sorry, which I am sure makes him feel a whole lot better. He is falling fast, the darkness of the chasm rushing up to meet him. In a flash, he remembers being careless before, realizing he has made the same mistake again. But as his hand glows with power, it is clear this fall is not over yet. Renoa appears behind him, telling him to leave the landing to her. And it clicks for Makoto, he is not alone this time. His hand erupts with shadow energy, forging a chain out of pure magic, which he fires straight into the cliffside, stopping his descent in a spectacular fashion. Makoto and Renoa hang suspended over the demon pit, ready to bring the pain. He knows climbing back up is impossible right now with the bridge so far away. Plus, the welcoming committee below is a horde of high B-rank devils, a whole new weight class. But instead of despair, his hand just flares with a whole lot of try-me energy, because with their leveled-up teamwork, he is confident they can take on anything. Meanwhile, the heroes up top are just casually strolling across their bridge, job done. This quiet hunter in green, however, is sneaking off, clearly having a crisis of conscience. Down below, Makoto is not waiting around, forging a massive new shadow weapon. And he immediately carves a path through the demon's swarm with a huge circular slash. These demons do not even have time to react before the blade is right on top of them. He and Renoa stand back to back, a perfect combat duo ready for round 2. Our boy just tears through the horde, his shadow magic shredding everything in sight. In the middle of the chaos, he realizes his power has grown exponentially. Surrounded on all sides, he just stands there like it is a Tuesday. He then unleashes shadow chains, grabbing multiple enemies at once like a pro. This is it, the payoff for all their training, finally strong enough to dominate. With another devastating swing, he clears out a massive section of the canyon floor. From the cliff's edge, the green-coated hunter watches in awe, recognizing true B-rank skill. A blue gem on his hand begins to glow as he makes a sudden decision. And he starts climbing down the cliff himself, looking completely bewildered by his own actions. This green-coated hunter is just completely losing it, and promptly faceplants on the canyon floor after that heroic climb down. Somehow they are still alive, which is more a testament to luck than skill. But their celebration is cut short by a couple of demons ready for a snack. This hunter is just frozen in pure, unadulterated I am so dead terror. As one of the demons lunges forward for an easy kill, they can only cower on the ground, begging for it to stop, and it seems our boy has finally noticed the commotion. In a flash of shadow magic, Makoto swoops in and blocks the fatal blow, and the hunter looks up, somehow knowing exactly who just saved them. Makoto, on the other hand, has absolutely no clue who this person is. With the immediate threat gone, the hunter thanks him for the rescue. Introducing themselves as Izumi Yuki, though they assume Makoto's never heard of them. Except he has. Yuki is famous for being the youngest person to ever become a hunter. Our boy is just surprised the prodigy hunter turned out to be a girl, and Yuki has to awkwardly clarify that nope, he is actually a guy, a classic. Renoa immediately pops up to call him a liar because of course she does. Makoto tries to explain the situation while Renoa is still trying to compute this information. Then our boy remembers something, asking Yuki how they knew his name earlier. Yuki just vaguely admits they have known about Makoto for quite some time now. Yuki admits he's been watching Makoto for a while, inspired by his refusal to ever give up. He is basically a full-on fanboy, calling our boy his role model while Makoto just looks embarrassed. For a moment, Makoto is just stunned that someone actually looked up to him back then. Turns out Yuki was so worried he tried to watch from the cliffs and then just fell, a real pro move. Seeing a kindred spirit in this clumsy prodigy, Makoto calls it fate and invites him to join the team. Yuki accepts with zero hesitation, grabbing his hand like he just won the lottery. With their new, slightly less homicidal party member, they press on through the canyon. And it is right back to work, with Makoto's shadow chains easily wrapping up the last few demons. He finishes off the final straggler in one clean, devastating sweep of dark energy. Yuki just watches from a safe distance as Makoto and Renoa stand victorious, a perfect combat pair. This kid's face is just pure, unfiltered awe. He has officially met his hero. Makoto checks his haul, satisfied with the quick work as Yuki continues his silent admiration. Finally, Yuki asks the million-dollar question, what is the secret to becoming that strong? Renoa, ever helpful, chimes in that there's super-secret training involved, holding hands, but the question triggers a horrible flashback for Yuki with someone screaming at him amid roaring flames. In the memory, a younger, terrified Yuki insists he did not mean to hurt his own comrades. This vision shows him being accused, desperately trying to explain it was all an accident, and that look of pure trauma says it all. His own power once went horribly wrong. Back in the present, Makoto quickly apologizes for bringing up a bad memory as Yuki nervously conjures a flame. Our boy gets it though, acknowledging that overcoming trauma from your own skills is never easy. Kneeling down, Makoto meets Yuki at his level and offers some surprisingly gentle words of encouragement about trying your best. This hits Yuki hard, a little fire spirit even popping up beside him, because our boy knows better than anyone that true effort is never wasted. With a genuine smile, Makoto says that just wanting to help is enough for now. And that is it, the kid is a full-on sobbing mess. His hero worship is now fully justified. With his fist clenched, the blue gem on his hand flares with new resolve, and he looks up, offering a simple, heartfelt thank you to his new role model. Then he makes a dramatic vow to become a true source of strength for the team, which Makoto and Renoa happily accept. Welcome to the squad, kid. With their new party member officially on board, the trio presses deeper into the canyon. A full 10 hours later, they finally reach the peak of a mountain inside the dungeon, and find the B-rank boss, Emperor Bale, already locked in combat with another team. Oh, would you look at that, it is Kadu and the backstabbing crew, still alive and kicking. This massive demon barrels right toward Kadu, clearly not impressed by her influencer status. But she is in a rank for a reason, summoning a massive water spirit for a powerful counterattack. Her Tempest attack slams directly into the boss with overwhelming force, and the demon emperor can only roar in pain as it gets absolutely blasted by the torrent. Her team immediately starts gushing about how amazing she is with a literal rainbow for effect, and Kadu smugly declares the boss subjugation is complete, mission accomplished, I guess. But their victory party gets crashed by a massive shadow demon looming over them. Kadu immediately senses a terrifyingly violent mana, realizing this is bad. A single boot stomps down, crushing the ground with pure dark energy. And there he is, some shirtless dude in a hoodie holding a giant rock, complaining about the workout. This backstabbing crew is stunned, realizing a powerful Magin just showed up to the party, who then immediately trips over his own shadow magic, so graceful this one. Her goons, however, just see a weak-looking guy, figuring Kadu can handle him easily. With zero hesitation, two of them charge forward to create an opening, a real pro-gamer move. Kadu screams at her idiot teammates not to be so reckless, which goes about as well as you'd expect, as they are instantly torn apart. She just stares in disbelief, trying to process what just happened. This new guy casually inspects his hand, calling them way too weak to have beaten the boss. He then drops the hoodie, revealing his horns and challenging her directly. He knows she is the one. Realizing the massive danger, Kadu orders her remaining lackeys to run for their lives, and they do not need to be told twice, scattering in absolute terror. This demon introduces himself as Jaga, then politely asks for her name. Kadu, powering up with her water spirit, flatly refuses to tell a demon anything. Jaga just smirks, promising he will make her talk one way or another. He unleashes a devastating blast of dark power right at her, and Kadu is completely floored, realizing she is up against something on a whole other level. Jaga does not waste a second, landing a brutal kick that sends Kadu flying. Her face says it all, she cannot even track his movements, he is just too fast. Another attack from her misses entirely as he sidesteps with zero effort. Then he just stomps her into the dirt, completely ending any hope of a comeback. Looming over her, he calmly asks for her name again, as if this was not a total beatdown. Kadu, ever the professional, tells him to shut up and that she will not talk to a demon. He seems fine with that, calmly forming a creepy dark energy rose in his hand, and with a simple die, he prepares to unleash the final, fatal attack. She just squeezes her eyes shut, totally powerless to stop what is coming. But at the very last second, a familiar purple chain whips in and deflects the blow. And would you look who it is, our boy Makoto, right on time to save the day. He now stands between Jaga and the very person who betrayed him. Backed by Renoa, Makoto tells the Magin he has had enough of this little show. Without another word, he whips his shadow chain directly at the demon's face. Their fight immediately kicks off in a blur of purple energy and raw power. Meanwhile, Yuki and the remaining goons are just staring, floored that Makoto is even here. Makoto shouts for Yuki to grab the traitor and get her to safety, no questions asked. As Yuki helps her, Kadu asks the obvious question, why save the person who tried to kill you? With his back turned, Makoto simply says this is what he believes is the right choice. So Yuki carefully guides the completely stunned Kadu away, leaving Makoto to handle the demon. With the B team safely retreating, the stage is now set for a proper boss battle. Jaga sizes up his opponent, while Makoto just gives him a confident little smirk. This demon immediately clocks Makoto's shadow powers and Renoa's angelic presence, and realizes this is the exact human his mysterious contact told him to find. He is absolutely buzzing with excitement, ready to get this high-stakes brawl started, launching himself at Makoto with blinding speed and zero hesitation. Their powers collide in a massive burst of energy as Makoto meets the charge head-on. And the sheer force of their initial clash sends a shockwave across the canyon floor. Jaga's claws scrape against Makoto's shadow blade, trying to find an opening, but our boy easily parries a brutal high kick without breaking a sweat. Deciding to change things up, Makoto unleashes his signature shadow chains, which instantly wrap around the demon, binding him tight for a follow-up attack. Jaga, however, is still grinning like a maniac. This is clearly just a fun Tuesday for him. Makoto uses the chains to violently slam his opponent into the ground, then moves in to press the advantage with a direct, powerful strike. This punch lands hard, but the demon just grits his teeth, taking the hit, and even with his leg still bound, he is already preparing his counter. Meanwhile, the spectators are just watching from a safe distance, completely speechless, because these two are just trading blows, both admitting this is the most fun they have had in ages. Kadu can only stare, realizing Makoto is evenly matched with the demon she could not even scratch. Kadu can only watch, realizing she'd just be a liability if she tried to help. This demon's claws grind against Makoto's shadow blade in a shower of sparks. Jaga forces our boy up the cliffside, absolutely determined to overpower him. With a psychotic grin, he charges up a massive energy ball, taunting Makoto to try and dodge it. But Makoto just braces himself, gathering his own overwhelming power to meet the attack head-on. His opponent unleashes a dark extreme technique, a ridiculously huge beam of destructive energy, and the sheer force of the blast sends the spectators flying, barely able to shield themselves. After the dust settles, Jaga stands there looking pretty pleased with himself. Unfazed, Makoto even offers some free advice on how to set up big attacks better. Then he just teleports in and lands a devastating gut punch before Jaga can even blink. This demon actually coughs up blood, completely stunned that he got hit so hard. Recovering, Jaga activates a new power with a totally subtle name, Red Dead Blood Death Law. A wave of crimson energy erupts from his body, forcing Makoto to back away. Our boy looks on with genuine curiosity, not fear, at this new development. This energy then morphs into a storm of razor-sharp blood spikes aimed right at him. This spikes slam into the ground, turning the entire area into a deadly trap. Jaga stands there, smugly assuming Makoto is shocked by his blood manipulation. Makoto, however, is just chilling, casually asking if this is some special demon ability. This demon confirms it, explaining that all demons have a unique dark art, his being blood. And then reveals Makoto is the target of his boss, Grom, which immediately gets our boy's attention. Jaga proudly announces he is a loyal servant of some guy named Grom, offering a free lesson in pain, and gives a quick lecture on demon rankings, revealing his boss is middle class while he is just a grunt, which makes Makoto realize this lower-class demon is already ridiculously powerful. This demon mockingly asks if Makoto is disappointed to be fighting a low-tier scrub like him. Then with a casual round 2, he unleashes a massive tidal wave of blood spikes right at our boy. Not even flinching, Makoto just gathers his own shadow energy, ready to meet the attack head-on, and in a flash he forms his power into a solid shield to block the incoming barrage, which easily deflects the spikes, proving way more durable than Jaga's blood magic. Jaga looks genuinely shocked as the shadow shield not only blocks but starts to envelop his attack. Before Makoto swings the construct like a massive club, catching the demon completely off guard. This demon just grins, reminding Makoto that he warned him not to take him lightly. He is clearly enjoying this. So Makoto wastes no time, blitzing forward to close the distance in an instant. This gem on his hand flares as he challenges the demon, asking if he can handle what is coming next, while Jaga tries to read the attack, complaining that he cannot tell if it is a sword or a hammer. A flurry of crescent-shaped shadow blades fly out, forcing Jaga to dodge midair. But he is not quite fast enough, and one of the blades slices right across his chest. Now he is just pissed, screaming about how annoying this all is. The fun and games are officially over. And meanwhile, the peanut gallery can only watch in awe as Renoa notes Makoto is finally pushing him back. Blood from his new chest wound drips onto the ground, a clear sign Makoto's attack landed hard. Leaving Makoto to stand his ground, ready for whatever the now bleeding demon throws at him next. Jaga gets a truly devious idea, flashing a grin that promises nothing good. Instead of attacking Makoto, his blood whips shoot past him toward the spectators, a classic hostage play. In an instant, the tendrils snatch up Kadu and her crew, binding them completely. Makoto is absolutely furious, calling out the demon for such a cowardly move. From Jaga's perspective, it is checkmate, gloating that it is already too late for our boy to do anything. This B-team can only struggle, realizing they have gone from spectators to human shields. Kadu just shuts her eyes, bracing for an attack she cannot possibly block, and a brutal slash of red energy tears through the air, but the blood splattering her face is not hers, leaving her completely stunned, because Makoto threw himself in front of everyone, taking the full force of the attack. He has been completely run through by the blood spikes, a human pincushion for his backstabbing friends. Kadu cannot even comprehend it, asking why he'd save the very people who tried to kill him. Despite being impaled, Makoto just grits his teeth, saying he has got it under control. Yuki is absolutely losing it, screaming that they have to do something to help. He has been training his own powers, but in the face of this, he is just frozen with fear. Jaga mocks Makoto's heroism, unleashing an even bigger blood storm to finish him off. All Yuki can do is watch in absolute horror, completely paralyzed. A memory of Makoto's words flashes through his mind, telling him that hard work always pays off. This snaps him out of it, and he swears he will become strong enough to help Makoto one day. And with that resolve, the gem on his hand erupts with a new, fiery power, Showtime Kid. Remembering Makoto's faith in him, Yuki finally unleashes his own fiery power. He is not just scared anymore, he is ready to be the backup Makoto always knew he could be. This sudden level up catches both Jaga and Makoto completely by surprise, so Yuki just lets loose with a massive, skull-shaped explosion aimed right at the demon. This resulting blast is absolutely enormous, engulfing the entire battlefield in a flash. His flames tear through Jaga's blood tendrils, creating a chaotic vortex of destruction. After the smoke clears, the ground is just a scorched, cracked wasteland. Kadu cannot believe it, realizing the kid she dismissed had this kind of firepower all along. From a safe distance, Makoto just lets out an impressed little laugh. Jaga even offers a sarcastic compliment for trying to nuke his own allies, but Yuki clarifies that the old him might have, implying this attack was perfectly aimed. And speaking of aimed, a wave of purple shadow energy suddenly cuts through the smoke, revealing Makoto, who casually threw up a shield to protect the entire B-team. He turns back to the crew, telling them that was some genuinely helpful support, giving Yuki a proud smirk for pulling off the perfect assist at the perfect time. Yuki is absolutely beaming, finally feeling like a real contributor to the fight. Jaga, meanwhile, is just processing how the kid managed a controlled demolition like that. Now standing shoulder to shoulder with Makoto, Yuki declares he is ready to fight for real, and the two share a quick fist bump, a silent agreement to take this demon down together. This new development has Jaga officially worried, realizing he needs to end this fight now. Done playing around, Jaga unleashes a truly terrifying wave of demonic energy. And Makoto immediately senses it. This next attack is the real deal. This demon channels his secret art, gathering a frankly absurd amount of blood magic, which forms into a massive, shadowy beast ready to swallow them whole. Then he unleashes a blood-storm fang tempest, a tidal wave of razor-sharp spikes. Makoto realizes the attack is way too fast and wide to block, putting him in a serious bind. But just as he braces for impact, Yuki grabs his leg, ready to pull off a move. This kid steps up with a determined look, telling Makoto he has got this covered. Using his new fire powers, Yuki jets across the ground with an explosive burst of speed and slams his foot down, creating a massive smokescreen to obscure their position. Jaga just grits his teeth, clearly annoyed by this little diversion tactic. With the battlefield covered in smoke, the demon completely loses track of them, so he decides to go back to his one and only playbook, threatening the B team again. A sudden flash of light from above, however, completely catches his attention. It is Yuki using his flame jets to carry Makoto safely into the sky, a human rocket assist. Jaga just scoffs, pointing out they are now sitting ducks for his next barrage. Another storm of blood spikes flies towards them, aiming to skewer them out of the air. Refusing to let Makoto down, Yuki gathers all his power for a desperate counter. He unleashes a supernova maximum burst, a massive beam of fire straight down. And his fiery explosion collides with the blood spikes in a cataclysmic blast of energy. This massive explosion clears, leaving Makoto and Yuki hovering victoriously in the air. Jaga is completely floored, wondering how his ultimate secret art got so thoroughly shut down. With the demon totally exposed, Makoto dives in for the finishing blow, shadow energy flaring. Jaga tries to rally, thinking one more attack will do it, completely ignoring his own injuries. He attempts to summon his blood magic for another round, striking a dramatic pose. But nothing happens because he has suddenly realized he is fresh out of blood. Whoops. Turns out Yuki's massive fire blast literally boiled away all his ammo on the battlefield. And it was all Makoto's plan. He baited the big attack just so Yuki could vaporize the demon's fuel. With Jaga totally powerless, Makoto gets right in his face with a shadow blade the size of a surfboard. Our boy brings the massive construct down in a brutal, fight-ending vertical slash, which connects beautifully, sending the demon flying back in a shower of his own blood. Makoto stands over the fallen demon, his shadow scythe ready to call it a day. Jaga actually admits defeat, giving a not bad human before conceding the match. But then his body erupts in spikes, preparing for one last, desperate suicide attack. Makoto's eyes widen, realizing this fight is not quite over yet. Out of nowhere, Renoa flies in, determined to block the final blast herself. She clashes with a new winged demon that erupts from Jaga's remains in a fiery explosion. This whole area is engulfed in flames as she tries to contain the demonic energy. Renoa looks back in horror while Kadu can only stare, stunned by this sudden turn of events. From the smoke emerges a new, shadowy monster, and the B-team realizes they cannot escape in time. Makoto swoops in to catch an exhausted Yuki, who is completely out of juice after that last blast. Yuki is just gushing with thanks while being held bridal style, a truly touching if awkward moment. But Makoto gives all the credit back, telling him they only won because Yuki stepped up. And that praise is enough to just break the dam as Yuki's eyes well up with tears, which immediately turns into a full-on ugly cry about how glad he is to finally be useful. Our boy panics, thinking he made an innocent girl cry, until Renoa reminds him Yuki's a dude. Meanwhile, the B-team can only stare from afar, absolutely floored that they actually defeated a demon. So of course they run over, calling our boys heroes, a stunningly fast change of heart. Their praise is immediately cut short by a sharp rebuke from one of their own, as a pink-haired girl calls them idiots for not apologizing to Makoto first and foremost. She steps forward, ready to deliver a much-needed lecture on basic human decency. But her teammate just shoves her head down, forcing her into a bow of apology instead. Through her apology, she explains her brother was killed by a demon, which is why she was so hostile. But after seeing him in action, she finally admits that she was completely wrong about him, acknowledging that he is a real hunter who protects people, not some monster in disguise. This prompts the entire B-team to give a deep formal bow, admitting what they did was unforgivable. Makoto, being the bigger person, just smiles and says their fear was totally justified. He even takes some of the blame, wishing he'd explained his situation with Renoa sooner. This pink-haired girl insists that a simple bow is not nearly enough to atone for their actions, though Makoto shuts that down, saying their sincere apology was more than enough for him. Makoto just gives them a gentle smile, totally cool with the whole "we tried to kill you" thing. But the pink-haired girl is suddenly looking at him like he is a certified rock star, and she is suddenly all "thank you," her previous hostility completely gone. In fact, she has gone full fangirl, calling him Makoto Shichai and gushing about how cool he is, which just leaves our boy confused as she vows to repay this massive debt to him. Her teammate joins the repay the debt train and Makoto just wants it to stop peak awkwardness. This next day, Makoto's at Hunter HQ getting debriefed by the chairman himself, who gives him a rare "you did well," confirming Makoto was the one who led the charge. With a firm handshake, he officially cancels Makoto's punishment. Our boy is finally in the clear. Makoto is absolutely ecstatic, but the chairman says the public announcement is not until tomorrow. And right on cue, an aide bursts in with terrible news. Makoto's identity has been leaked to the press, leaving both of them completely floored as the aide tells them to look at the news. He shows them a report framing this as an association cover-up of a demon-contracted hunter. Makoto cannot believe it. His one big secret is now a public scandal. Outside the Hunter Association building, the media circus is already in full swing, with reporters inside screaming for answers and demanding the association take responsibility. This chairman looks down at the chaos, admitting this is the exact nightmare scenario he wanted to avoid, so he wastes no time ordering an immediate emergency press conference to get ahead of this. Makoto tries to take the blame, but the chairman shuts him down, saying the association made its choice, telling our boy to lay low in a safe room until the storm passes because it is about to get ugly. Makoto is absolutely seething, but he knows he is trapped by the situation. He clenches his fist, reluctantly agreeing to the chairman's plan to lay low. Later that afternoon, the emergency press conference kicks off in a massive hall, where the chairman announces they are here to discuss the demon-contracted hunter, and he just rips the band-aid off, confirming it is an undeniable, officially recognized fact. A reporter immediately leaps to the worst conclusion, asking if the association is in bed with demons. But the chairman clarifies Renoa was a divine spirit trying his best to do damage control. From his safe room, Makoto watches the whole PR nightmare unfold on a screen, as the public reaction online is pretty much just pure, unadulterated panic, and he realizes humanity's hatred for demons is way worse than he ever imagined. He tries to defend Renoa, insisting she is not one of the bad ones. While back at the conference, reporters are grilling the chairman about public safety, when a new voice suddenly offers to answer that very question, and in walks some blonde S-rank hunter named Amagi making a grand entrance, who immediately gets the press buzzing about his involvement in all this. He just strolls right up and puts his hand on the podium like he owns the place, then promises everyone he will personally eliminate Makoto if he ever becomes a threat. This reporters are totally sold, with some even demanding an on-the-spot execution. Lovely crowd. They start shouting for proof, demanding Makoto be brought out to face them, but Amagi shuts them down, saying they just tear him apart, which yeah, he is not wrong. Amagi just coolly calls the public backlash a bit troublesome, since the info leak blew their cover. And of course, Makoto is watching this whole train wreck unfold live from his phone. He sees the online comments just screaming for his execution, leaving him completely powerless. But a new notification suddenly pops up on the livestream, catching his attention. His eyes widen as he realizes what is happening. This just got even worse. It is an emergency live stream from some influencer named Sarah, promising a full exposé on him. Back at the conference, reporters are buzzing, telling everyone to tune in for some valuable information. This chairman and Amagi are immediately shown the stream, and they do not look pleased. In the safe room, Makoto and Renoa can only watch, wondering what fresh hell this is going to be. This stream kicks off with a super bubbly, tropical-themed intro, a perfect fit for a public execution. And there she is, influencer Sarah, cheerfully announcing she has secret footage to release. She teases her audience, promising to show the true nature of the demon-contracted hunter. Her video starts playing, showing a clear shot of Makoto's face from the recent battle. This press is absolutely eating this up, getting their articles ready to condemn him on the spot. On screen, the footage shows Makoto facing off against the blood demon Jaga. It continues with him desperately dodging a vicious attack in a life-or-death struggle, then cuts to Jaga in all his monstrous glory, looking like a pure, unadulterated nightmare. Sarah's secret footage even includes the moment Makoto gets impaled by blood spikes, which leaves the entire press corps watching in stunned, horrified silence. This video then shows him summoning his shadow blade, ready to fight back despite his wounds. This footage continues, showing Makoto fighting with everything he has got, not as a monster but as a desperate defender. It even pauses on a shot of him and Renoa, perfectly framing them as a heroic duo against the darkness. Back at the press conference, the reporters are now dead silent, watching the truth unfold on their phones. Amagi looks on with a smug little smile, while the chairman seems to be seriously rethinking his strategy. On stream, Sarah apologizes for the clickbait, saying she just wanted everyone to see the real him, and the comments are now exploding with support. She challenges the entire world, asking how anyone could still call this guy a threat after watching him risk it all. Looking straight into the camera, she is about to deliver the most passionate defense of his life. Her voiceover declares him more noble than anyone, a hunter who actually protects people. Sarah then begs the audience to stop attacking him and just believe in what they have seen with their own eyes. She even gives a deep, desperate bow to her camera, pleading with everyone to trust the footage. In the conference hall, the reporters start murmuring that he did not look like a villain at all. Our girl Sarah then goes full hype mode, shouting about how cool he is and how everyone has to be moved by his actions. This live chat completely flips, with everyone now cheering for him, which brings a tear to her eye. Waving to the screen, she calls out to Makoto Shichai, hoping this helps repay that debt she mentioned. Makoto himself is just sitting there, completely stunned by this wild turn of events. Renoa comforts him, saying this is all because he chose to do the right thing while thanking Sarah for her help. And with her PR masterclass complete, Sarah cheerfully signs off from her stream, job well done. This mood in the press conference has done a complete 180, the bloodlust totally gone. Amagi just smirks at the chairman, casually noting they probably will not need that Q&A anymore. So the chairman steps back up to the mic, declaring Makoto a hunter absolutely essential to the world. With her PR masterstroke complete, Sarah's emergency expose stream finally comes to an end. Back in the safe room, Renoa finds Makoto just slumped over, completely drained from the whole ordeal. But he looks up with a new fire in his eyes, declaring their mission to save the world has not changed. Renoa just gives him a warm smile, confirming she is with him all the way to the end. And then we flash forward several years to a massive purple gate, the final dungeon. This press is going absolutely nuts, announcing the arrival of humanity's greatest heroes. A trio of what are called the strongest hunters make their grand entrance for the cameras, but all the reporters suddenly turn their attention to someone else arriving on the scene. It is Makoto, looking older and more confident, with Renoa floating right beside him. This entire crowd of hunters and press parts for them, a true sign of his new status. He closes his eyes, thinking about how he only got this far because people finally believed in him, giving special thanks to Renoa for always fighting right by his side through it all. And for her, fighting with Makoto has become the entire meaning of her existence. Talk about couple goals. Makoto gives a determined grin, vowing to defeat the demons and restore the light for everyone. Then, holding hands, they lead the charge straight into the final battle to end this war for good.